Welcome in, everybody. Hello, hello. How's it going? Welcome in, everybody. I think you're still muted, Michael. Are you muted on my end?
I'm muted in Discord.
There
I'm
we
living
go.
the dream, dude. How are you
Okay.
doing?
I'm good, bro. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, there we go, guys. Welcome in, everybody. Episode number 4, man. It feels like episode 1 was just yesterday, but at the same time, it feels like it was a lot of days ago, man. I can't believe it's been 3 episodes and this is the fourth one here. I just want to thank every single person in here, and everyone who's checked us out on YouTube, Spotify, and of course over here on Twitch. The support you guys have shown is phenomenal. It keeps us pushing and keeps us very excited to continue bringing these podcasts to you guys. But welcome in, everybody, to the Talk Footy to Me podcast. I am OfficialH2. I'm joined by my brother, my co-host, Mykal87. Just a fair warning, he's being an absolute trooper and pushing through this, but he is a little bit under the weather. So best wishes to Michael, and hopefully he feels better. But just in case you guys hear some sniffles, you know what it is. Michael, over to you. Say hi to everybody, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. The joys of being a new parent, right? Feeling a little bit under the weather, but it's on the up, so we're pushing through. We'll obviously want to get the content out for you guys, and there's a lot to talk about. So, again, thanks for all the love on the podcasts, both in YouTube episodes and on Spotify has been popping off. So, just a reminder that they will be live on Spotify. Should be around right every Friday, about 24 hours ish after we record, so give or take. But make sure you check it out on Spotify.
Absolutely. This is the first podcast where we have had the season. The season started, guys. So as you guys
True.
know, this past weekend was the first official weekend of Premier League football being back. We've had tons of European matches throughout the weeks as well. So there's a lot to talk about on this episode. For those of you that were here for our season preview episode, it went about 4.5 hours. You guys were absolute troopers hanging out with us for that long. Today's going to be hopefully a little bit better towards how we used to have it. A couple of hours of some good football talk here, and as always, we'd love for you guys to be involved both in Michael's chat and ours. For those of you beautiful people listening on Spotify and watching on YouTube, Michael and I both stream this live on Twitch. Our links are in the descriptions of both Spotify and YouTube, so feel free to check us out on Thursdays when we stream this live. But I think without further ado, as he makes up new words, let's get into this. The first
Freddie
thing on
Adu.
Freddie Adu, there we go, the GOAT Freddie Adu. So the first thing on our agenda was obviously talking about the weekend wrap up. There was so much amazing football, so much amazing soccer, whatever you want to call it, the beautiful game, so much of it to consume, and I think there's no better place than to start with the first match of the Premier League season, which was Liverpool versus Fulham. Boy, I'm gonna say I'll let you say we when it gets to you, but boy was I wrong. Fulham looked so good in the first game. Craven Cottage was bouncing. It's always interesting to see how a newly promoted team is going to start the season. Obviously, there's that bounce, there's that that energy to start the season strong, but it's no easy task playing Liverpool for your first match, and Fulham really played very well. I'll briefly say that for now. Let you talk about it, Michael, and then I'll add to it if you want to.
Yeah, as your chat's already calling you a liar.
About my
Technically, the first
predictions.
match was
Yeah.
no. Technically, the first match was
Arsenal, sorry.
Palace.
I meant the first enjoyable match. Sorry, no offense, Arsenal fans.
Ooh, damn, he went there. Yikes. But the like, brace your hand if you had Liverpool, not getting 3 points out of this game. I don't think anybody did. And I think a 2-2 result against Liverpool first week of the season, that's got to feel like 3 points to Fulham, right?
Dazer did have his hands raised, by the way,
Um,
over here on Twitch.
Sorry, I don't see people from the bottom of the table. But I mean, technically they're not bottom of the table right now, but so fair play to him. But I mean, they played really well. Like, it wasn't like they got 2 lucky goals and then they sat out a lead or anything like that. They shut down Liverpool's attack pretty heavily. I will say for Liverpool, the game changer was Darwin Nunez coming on.
100%.
I think this game was the one that's going to put Bobby Firmino on the bench, and Nunez is probably going to start.
That is exactly what I said too in the Discord during our live match chat. I said there's no reason for Roberto Firmino to start another match as long as Darwin Nunez is healthy. No offense to Firmino, but
yeah, Firmino's a phenomenal player,
Yeah.
but Darwin Nunez came on and changed the game.
absolutely.
He didn't. There wasn't there. He got one called back, right?
Yep,
Like there
similar
was,
goal to the one he scored, actually, a back
yeah.
heel, an audacious
heel, yeah.
effort. Yeah.
So I think that was definitely a game changer for him, and I think Klopp is going to be the type of manager where he's going to realize that, and he's not going to get done in by that again. But
Yeah.
I think for a lot of fans, Liverpool wise, this is 2 points lost. I feel like for Fulham, this is 1.1 because I don't think anybody outside of that Fulham stadium probably. I don't think anybody outside of Craven Cottage really picked Fulham to get a result in this game at all.
No, 100%.
We also did a lot of disrespect to Mitrovic, and he
100%.
showed up.
Here's the thing with
So
Mitrovic, and I want to address this because a lot of people have been calling me out on what I said about Mitrovic. We know he's a great striker. There's no denying that. He has spent some time in the Premier League, and let's be very honest, he was good in spells, but the consistency at a Premier League level was not there from him. So for him to then tear it up in the Championship was phenomenal, but there definitely was a valid reason for us to question whether he would be able to perform in the Premier League, and it's nice to see that in week 1 already he has shown that he damn well can if he keeps this up. He looked really good. Balini is a great pickup for them, by the way. And Cabano, I was really, really impressed with Cabano and Tete on the right-hand side. They really did very well in the game as well. But, I mean, the main thing for me is just how they started and just kept it going. Like you said, this wasn't a fluke result. I mean,
right.
Craven Cottage was bouncing, and the team on the pitch matched that energy throughout the whole game. They matched it exactly. They felt it, and it was just amazing. Also, I want to address and I want to ask you, because I haven't actually talked to you about this, Michael, with regards to Jurgen Klopp's comments after the match about the pitch being too dry. I think it's a lazy excuse because of the fact that both those teams played on the same pitch. Like I said, I don't think I was on the podcast, but pitch complaints are getting really old because unless you play in like the Cambodian 2nd division, and no offense to anyone that plays in the Cambodian 7th division, but I mean,
cancel in Cambodia now.
Literally, but if you play at that level, you know, maybe there's an issue with pitches. Now, I've seen a lot of Liverpool fans on Twitter say that for people to take away from that Jurgen Klopp presser that he was frustrated with the pitch is not the correct take. What is your opinion on that, Michael? Because it was pretty clear-cut and dry for me.
It's 100% the wrong
No
take.
pun intended when I said dry and clear-cut, by the way, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's 100% the wrong take. I feel like it's a lazy excuse. I don't feel like you, as a manager of that quality, can use a pitch as your excuse. Like, your team needs to be able to play in any situation, whether that's the same thing as blaming the snow or blaming, any of the elements that are when you get to that game, the elements are the same for both teams.
That's what I'm saying.
So blaming the elements is such a lazy excuse as a manager, and it's actually really disappointing to see a manager of Jurgen Klopp's level and status to use as an excuse.
Yeah,
I'd expect that from an MLS manager or Canadian Prem manager or something.
Hey, why'd you have to throw the Canadian Prem in there?
I didn't want to cancel just my league.
Yeah. I just want to switch to. I'm just gonna forgive me for those of you on Twitch and YouTube. I'm just gonna switch screens for a second here, and I'm gonna show you this tweet that was shared by Dazzermeister, who is our resident Fulham fan. Fulham with a little bit of gamesmanship here, saying the Craven Cottage turf looking absolutely lush yesterday with the waters flowing here, and Howie Roll Owen in chat also says they were watering the field pregame because it was in a heat wave. So anything that was said that whole situation, I think, is just kind of foolish, and we're seeing the excuses come out early. It's the first match of the season.
Yeah, and I don't think, he didn't say anything about how his team played. He said everything about how the pitch was terrible and they couldn't keep their footing and things. I was like I said, that he didn't address the fact that Fulham was pressing him from kickoff.
Yeah.
A lot like the Brighton game that we're going to get to.
Yeah.
Like Fulham was in their face, and a lot of Liverpool players didn't look so comfortable on the ball like they usually do.
No.
I don't know if it's because of the easy preseason, disappearing, and you don't really see a whole lot of pressing in preseason. So I don't know if it's coming off of that or if it's, like you said, the atmosphere was amazing. So
100%.
There's a lot of mistakes that you don't really see. Trent looked like hot garbage.
Trent was a little bit behind the pace there. Also, Mohamed Salah was invisible for most of the match until, of course, he then showed up with an inevitable contribution towards the end and looked really bright in the second half. But again, it's the first.
You have to count him in for one, right?
Yeah,
you have to count him in for at least a goal contribution a game
every time. That's exactly it. Like, it looked like, okay, this is the game where Salah's going to be, not really a factor, and then he, sure enough, was very, very active in the second half. I think the big takeaway from this is that it's early days. Obviously, Liverpool is going to respond. This isn't going to be a weekly thing. The main thing from my perspective is much credit to Fulham. I will put my hands up and say I got it completely wrong. We will be talking about some transfers future in the later in the show here, but I mean Fulham has made some moves even since that match, which are gonna just make the team a lot better. And so it looks like, and this is why we do the prediction podcast, right? Because it's fun to look at the end of the fun for you guys, so you can rip us apart, but fun for us to do because it's definitely credit where credit's due. Fulham was phenomenal in match week 1.
I think one thing I want to credit Fulham for, and their head coach did a really good job of, he put Mitrovic in a position where he wasn't matched up with Matip and Van Dijk. He was matched up with Robertson and Trent. He didn't actually play his striker in like a striker position. He actually lit his central midfield, kind of moved more into that middle spot and occupied the center backs. And Mitrovic was floating out towards the wings and was getting really good matchups. And I mean, you see that he made Trent Alexander-Arnold look like an infant. You know, when he rose above him for the header,
him at the back post. Yep.
Yeah, he looks like he didn't even jump.
Yeah.
I don't think he jumped.
Yeah.
And I think Fulham came out. The one thing that I would say is, and at the grain of salt I would take away from this as a Liverpool fan, is that's Fulham's Champions League, right? Like that's their trophy at the end of the day.
They had that circled the moment it came
that
out.
match.
Yeah, yep.
But Liverpool have matches ahead of that they're not really, they're focusing on bigger fish, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%.
So I feel like Fulham probably came into this game with a very, very keen focus on how to exploit Liverpool.
Yeah.
Whereas for Liverpool, this was just another Premier League game that they can kind of gloss over.
Yeah.
Which would also be scary if that's the mindset that they're going to have with some of the other games, because we both picked them to win the league this year. So
Yeah. No, for sure. Dark Raiden says Mitrovic rode Trent Alexander-Arnold. Can't really argue with that, my friend.
I mean, he did.
Hey, yo, exactly. All right. So yeah, Fulham, that match, phenomenal, 10 out of 10. My personal, probably, to be honest, favorite match of the weekend, and I watched a lot of football, but just for me, it was just because there was the expectation that it's a new team. Let's see, maybe it'll peter out. Fulham did really well, and it was like, when is it going to end? When is it? And they just, here's my thing. Fulham were unlucky not to get all 3 points during that game. That's it. Like, for me, Fulham deserved the win, and a draw is a great result. That's a huge point, but it almost felt like a bit of a letdown that they didn't walk away with all 3 points there.
I have one that's mine's a little bit more cynical. My favorite match of the weekend was the Brighton Man United match.
Brighton Man United, okay.
And it's not just because, you know, we get the salty tears of Man United, but also because Graham Potter showed up.
Graham Potter did phenomenally.
I feel like I want to take a step back, and by the way, I'm done with the Liverpool game. I think we covered the Liverpool game. I don't know if you wanted to touch anything else on it.
No, that's it for me. Yeah.
The Man United Brighton game, to me, I actually feel like United fans, they're using this as the straw that broke the camel's back. And there's a part of me that wants to say they shouldn't. Because yes, they lost the game. Yes, they lost to Brighton. But I feel like they weren't necessarily outcoached. I feel like they were outperformed. There was a lot of laziness, excuse me.
Yeah, you're good.
Fred was a steaming pile of garbage.
Again.
And that's probably why he got subbed off in the 50th minute.
Over a yellow-carded McTominay, who was pretty aggressive throughout the match. That should tell you.
Who was also hot garbage. And I honestly, when McTominay got his yellow, I was like, that's borderline a red. And then he also had a couple other challenges where I was like, this guy's already on a yellow. Like, and then so the midfield, other than Bruno, was hot garbage for Man United. I feel like that had a lot to do with it, but I still don't think they were outcoached. I think they were outperformed. And I think the Ten Hag's still dealing with a lot of the drama that Man United brought into the beginning of the season. Martial, who was supposed to be his starting striker, all of a sudden is going through some drama, is now not even on the bench. He's in the rafters with a mysterious injury that he developed out of nowhere. CR7's starting on the bench. I think that was more of a message to CR7, but it's also a bad look that they had to bring him on in the second half, which I know you're going to have a nice piece to say on, but I don't think they were outcoached. That's my opinion. I don't think they were outcoached. I think they were outperformed. I think Brighton came out with 110%. They put 110% on the field, and they executed. They took their chances. United had chances. Bruno Fernandes had a chance to put that game 1-0 down, or 1-0 up, excuse me, with a sitter in the box, where if you're betting your house, you would have bet Bruno Fernandes to make that, and he skied it. So United had their chances. I just don't think they played as well as Brighton did on the day. That's my take.
Interesting take. I do have a lot to say, and I had a lot to say on the day in our Discord for the live match chat, and
We both did.
we both did. And the thing with this is, like, I do have a lot to say, but I just hope that Man United fans understand that this is just how I see the situation clearly. There's a lot more to it than you and I would ever know. There's a lot more to it than, we can't change the fate of this club by saying the things we say, but it's just a way of us communicating what we think. So I want you guys to understand this is not a personal attack on Man United. This isn't me being negative in any way, shape, or form. It's just an observation. The amount of dark clouds that hang over this club right now is unavoidable, and that's the biggest thing. Like you said, Ten Hag has a lot to clear out before he can actually move forward with this club, okay? So first thing I want to touch on, you said that it was down to the performance on the field. I would say it's a mix of both. I think Tifo did a wonderful video on YouTube discussing kind of the tactical intricacies of Brighton and Man United and how Graham Potter decided to set up. I think that Graham Potter put them in a basic position to perform, and then it came down to all 11 players for Brighton performing for 90 full minutes. Pascal Gross was amazing. Trossard was very bright. Danny Welbeck had an amazing game, and I was very disappointed he didn't actually score. Caicedo in the midfield, like Dazermeister says here on Twitch, in his the Ecuadorian midfielder was phenomenal. So, you look at their team through and through, and I think that Graham Potter is a phenomenal manager, and I think he deserves some credit. Not saying that it was Graham Potter outclassing Ten Hag. No, it wasn't the case, and I agree with that with Mykal. But I think it was a bit of both. When you look at what Brighton did, you could tell they were playing as a team, and this is something we've talked about with United for so long. They have players that are capable of changing the game on their own. However, it just doesn't gel as a team. With regards to the whole Cristiano Ronaldo thing, my personal opinion, and this is my personal opinion, so come at me if you want to, don't come at me, it doesn't matter. This is just my opinion. I think if as a Chelsea fan, if I stood up and started clapping someone who had publicly let the team down by not showing up to preseason, by making it clear they didn't want to be here, by leaving a game in the preseason before it was even over, leaving the premises, whatever. All of these things have added up to a point that we can't ignore the fact that Ronaldo does not want to play for Manchester United in this time. So as a fan, then, if I stood up and started saying Ronaldo is our savior, he's going to score the goal here, and like you said, putting him on as a desperation sub to try to turn the game around, any club other than United would get ripped apart if their fans reacted in that way. But because it's Manchester United, I feel like no one's even talking about the fact that he got a standing ovation. A man who has publicly said, or not publicly said, because someone is going to go out there and say he's never actually said the words, but it's clear that he doesn't want to be here anymore. Yet the fans were rising up as if their savior had arrived. And to me, that's just not a good look. Honestly, that is not a good look. Like, yes, he can change a game around, but I've said this from the start about this whole Ronaldo thing. You're going to get the goals with him. You're going to get the game-changing performances from him, but at what cost? And the cost far outweighs the benefit for me at United for him right now. A lot needs to be changed before they can succeed here.
Did he really change the game though?
No, he didn't.
I almost feel like they almost got worse.
Because it's Ronaldo and hope for the best. It's just get the ball in his general direction and hope that something happens.
I will. So my reason saying that I feel like they didn't get out coached. If we took away the score line, and this is one of the things that I like to do when I review games, you take away the score line, and you look at the stats for the game. Manchester United had 63% of possession, 17 shots, 5 of them hit the target. They only had 7 fouls to 12, and they had 6 corners. And so I feel like you also have to. They had 5 saves out of their keeper, by the way. I couldn't even tell you I couldn't remember the name of Brighton's keeper off the top of my head, but the guy showed up against Man United. I think Brighton just put in a better performance. They opened up they knew that they were going into Old Trafford beginning of the season. They knew that Man United was not on stable ground, and they stole some fruit from the big dogs.
Yeah. Dazermeister in my chat here on Twitch makes a good point, actually, and it sounds very negative, but I can't really deny this. Every team in the league is going to look at United as a game that they can get points from for the next few games. And the fact that he added for the next few games is exactly right, because United, as much as everyone says they're a meme club, I still maintain the fact that United is a truly massive club in terms of reputation, in terms of history, in terms of expectations, and I don't think they will struggle for that long. There's a lot that needs to change. Well, I would hope they don't struggle for that long, as much as it's something to talk about every week in, week out. You've seen it in both our chats on Twitch when we're streaming FM. 90% of the conversation is United driven, which is fine, but it's come to a point where I think it's very clear that there just needs to be a huge overhaul within the club from the top down. And I think they're starting to move in the right directions with clearing out guys like Pogba. Big transfer rumors today, by the way. Marcus Rashford to PSG potentially.
Yes.
I think a lot needs to change in that team before,
Which, to your point, I don't think that selling Marcus Rashford is the answer. He was one of the best players on the field. He
two
spread the field
really good
wide.
opportunities also, yeah.
Yeah, he created great opportunities. He started that counterattack that Manchester United almost scored on.
Yep.
That Bruno skied.
Yep.
And he was in position to take that shot as well. I don't think selling Marcus Rashford is the right deal. I think Jadon Sancho needs to leave. I think Jadon Sancho's been a hot mess since he's left Dortmund.
He looked good in that one preseason game, and I actually fell for it, and I was excited, and I was like, here we go. And then he was invisible. I had a parlay. I had a little parlay. Guys, don't bet responsibly, all of that good. Disclaimer's fault, right? But I had a little parlay, and it almost hit, and the only thing was Jadon Sancho to have over 1.5 shots on target in the game, and he had 0. 1.5 for one of your most direct players.
But to your point, though, I actually think that Manchester United are going to struggle. Looking at their fixture list, they have to go to Brentford this week, which Brentford didn't play terribly. Like, I don't think they got the result last week, but Brentford's still one of those teams that can surprise you. And it's United on the road, so who knows how they're going to perform. But then they host Liverpool. So then they do have a little bit of an easier game against Southampton, but then they have to go to Leicester, then they host Arsenal. So, like, the next 4 or 5 games for them aren't walks in the park other than maybe the Southampton one.
Yeah.
So, and then starting in October, they have to go to Manchester City, and they also in that month play Tottenham, Chelsea, and West Ham.
Yeah.
So United have a really rough beginning of the schedule, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're outside of Europe, come end of October.
Yeah.
But again, I still preach patience to these Man United fans because again, in my opinion, I don't think Ten Hag was outcoached.
Yeah.
At least in this game. To the point where Man United fans need to be going for his head. I do agree with him going for the ownership's head because the player, even though they're spending money, that's not their money. But even though they're spending money for players, I don't think that the players are the right deal. Like the Adrian Rabiot deal doesn't make sense to me. The Marko Arnautovic deal that basically got canceled because of the uprising of the fans. I don't know if this is Ten Hag that's like, hey, I want these players, or if it's the board going, these are the players that we can get.
Yeah, for sure. Zan United, who is a very big supporter of both Mykal's and my channel here on Twitch, says there are 19 other clubs in the league and they all have problems or need attention. Everyone always compares everything that has to do with football with Man United. It is insane and ridiculous, but then we might be the standard to aspire to from the past. I just want to touch on that. I think, it's undeniable that when I was growing up, Manchester United was the most successful club in England, if not most of the world. Now, is it fair that Manchester United still gets held to the same standards as during Sir Alex Ferguson? No, I've said this multiple times. I do not expect them to be held to the same standard. But as a fan of a club such as Man United, such as Arsenal, such as Liverpool, such as even, I'm going to throw Chelsea in there, these clubs do require some level of success. We're not talking about, with no disrespect here, we're not talking about like a Leicester or, a club that if they win is phenomenal, but if they don't, it's not a disaster. With United, no one is sitting here saying that they have to be the most amazing, best team in the world. It's just the fact that there is no denying. When you think about Manchester United, you do not think about the struggles that they've been going through for this long. I hope that makes sense, and United, if you're still here. It's not about like just using United as a measuring pole and just being like, well, it's not that at all. It's just the fact that, yes, there's no denying that United is one of the top clubs in the world. They're a huge, not even only commercial club, but in terms of success too. So I don't know, Mykal, is there anything you want to add to that comment there?
No, we talked about this in chat the other day, but it's relevant to this because there's not more United fans in the world than anybody else. They're just the loudest, right? So I also feel like United fans do a good job of bringing the attention their own way as well.
I want to say this, sorry, one thing, yes, in the Discord, which is great, I love it, but the United stuff is brought to us. Like, Mykal and I kind of just, like to talk about it when we're talking about the Man United Brighton game, but there's a lot of like articles and things posted, so it stays relevant in terms of the global scale, right? Zan United says, but then the other funny thing is we have only been outside the top four maybe 2 times in the last 10 years, but when Arsenal do it for 15 years, it's okay. I don't think so. Arsenal has been a pretty memey club for like
Yeah.
people have ripped Arsenal apart for a lot of their things. And again, we're not ripping Manchester United as a club or expecting anything. I think we're just trying to figure out a solution. No, I know in
Quite
general.
the quite the opposite. I feel like I'm building up Man United.
Yeah. No, sorry. Zan United says, not talking about us in general, of course, no offense taken. I'm just saying in general, I think people have expected more from Arsenal when they haven't made the top four. People have expected more from those clubs that you associate with historical success that seem to struggle a lot in the recent future. I want to ask you one question about Jadon Sancho, Michael. I want to get your thoughts on this. Well, McGarnagle says here in chat, he feels that with Sancho, isn't it United's fault perhaps that he isn't playing to the best of his ability? It seems that Sancho has been used in the wrong way by every manager, it seems. What do you think about that? Because I know you've probably watched him a little at Dortmund as well.
I don't think so. I mean, he's playing the exact same role he played at Dortmund, which is a wide midfielder whose job is to create. Jadon Sancho didn't score a ton of goals when he was at Dortmund. He was a guy who was crafty and created opportunities, whether he took them for himself or he had somebody to play the ball off of. I will say that since he's gone to United, he hasn't had really a prolific striker to bounce the ball off of other than Ronaldo. And Ronaldo's kind of a different beast that takes a lot of time to get to play with. I feel like Jadon Sancho, he's one of those players who should be able to play in any system because he's simply just a wide player. He's a wide playmaker.
Yeah.
You know, I just feel like he hasn't done well since he's put a red shirt on.
Yeah.
And who knows what the reason is? I don't know if it's because he doesn't enjoy the instructions he's getting. I don't know if it's because the players around him aren't supporting him. But I feel like he's turning into a little bit of Alan St. Maximin, where every time he gets the ball, it's a turnover.
Yeah.
I don't feel like anything's coming out of it. It's either a turnover or a backward pass. I don't feel like it's anything creative right now.
Yeah.
So
I think,
and that could be because of his confidence. His confidence could be shook because he's on this team that's got so much drama, and people forget he's a young kid. You know, he's not like a 30-year-old player who's dealt with this before.
Exactly,
So.
and just proving that point exactly. Zan United says first season in the Premier League last year. Exactly, like at a young age, you know, joining the. I like Jadon Sancho. I genuinely like Jadon Sancho. I like Marcus Rashford. I do like those players, and I think those are not the problems. They're not the problems at all. I just want to make it very clear to any Manchester United fans out there that think that Michael and I have like something. We don't. We literally do not have anything against Manchester United. There are sounds good, Zan United. Thank you. Zan United is taking his dog for a walk. Enjoy your morning. Stay, guys. By the way, guys, all around the world right now, hydrate yourselves. Take care of yourselves. It's basically a heat wave all over the world right now. So everybody, please make sure that you're taking care of yourselves, your health, and everything. But I just want to say, it seems that United fans themselves are at a loss for what's going on. You know, exactly. Hydrate on cue. For those of you that are listening on Spotify, Michael and I are taking simultaneous swigs of water here.
I got chalky milk. I don't know about
you
you.
got chocolate milk. I got my water and my unnamed soda drink over here. My pop. We call it pop in Canada. Just move on. Don't debate it. Let's go. With Manchester. No.
No. You know this is coming. You know.
Oh no. Cringe, eh?
Now that that's out of the way, you go through YouTube, you go through Twitch, and you see it's mostly United fans that are being the most vocal about how this level of performance is unacceptable. You know, So I just want to
They're the most vocal. Like you said, they bring it to us. We were sitting there watching other Premier League games, and we were getting paragraphs and Man United fans were sharing their own memes and stuff about their own team.
Yeah,
and the game wasn't even over yet.
Yeah,
you know, so I feel like, you know, as much as United definitely deserves to be in the spotlight because this is their first like spell of being bad, I would say. In terms of, and most clubs would be happy constantly getting into Europe. You know, granted it's Europa, but most clubs would be happy constantly getting to Europe. For Man United, that's a failure, and this is the first time that they're really going through a spell like this, so they don't know how to react.
100%.
But I also do think that they have the justice to go for, you know, their ownership's head. But I feel like they also need to look into, is it the ownerships who are buying, is it the owners, like are the Glazers the ones who are going out and going, we want Rabiot, we want Arnautovic, we want this guy, or is it somebody else in the system who's going and buying these type of players that don't fit and aren't good fit for the club, the style and everything like that, or is it Ten Hag? That's the question that everybody should be asking, because that's the answer you need. Because if it's Ten Hag is like, I want these guys, well then yeah, now you have a right to go for Ten Hag's head because he has no fucking clue what he's doing. But if it's somebody above him who's just going, these are the players we can buy, do the best with you can, you can only polish a turd so much. Then it's not his fault.
I it's been a while on this topic, so I just want to say one more thing. And I think, like I said, the main thing is it needs to be a top down. There's a lot that needs to change. There's no denying that. I've heard the sentiment from quite a few United fans where it's like, like they're planning this walkout and all of that. And I hope that at the end of the day, something happens where it just something needs to change on a big scale. And until that happens, I'm not sure what the future holds this season in terms of where they'll finish. I'm not saying it's Disaster FC. I'm not saying it's Disaster United or anything. But yeah, we'll leave it at that because we've gone on this topic for like a good 15, 20 minutes and we have lots to cover. But as always, it seems to be the most heated, not heated, but the most, whatever you want to call it, debate when we talk about Man United.
We also got Man City taking on West Ham this past weekend.
Yes, I want to touch on the
that was a big
Arsenal
match.
Palace one first, just because that was the first match and we didn't
Yes.
really talk about it.
Can't leave our Gunners out; they'll be upset.
I want to touch on that. So I was super excited because, like you guys know, I was pretty high on Arsenal in the preseason predictions that we did. Arsenal started really well. Gabriel Jesus looked bright. He looked direct. He looked like he was going to change the game single-handedly. And after they got their goal, Palace kind of just held on. And after halftime, I thought Palace was unlucky not to score heading into the halftime, by the way.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then to start the second half, it was a struggle for Arsenal to see that game through. They did get the second goal. I think it was Bukayo Saka who scored the second goal.
It was an own goal. It was counted.
Sorry, it was the own goal,
yeah.
correct. Yeah. But that move. But I mean, Palace was hanging around and it was a scrap for Arsenal. So what are your thoughts on that game, Michael?
Yeah, dead even in terms of stats. I think that this game was a lot closer than it looks. Like you said, they scored an early goal, 20th minute. Arsenal had a couple other threats like shortly thereafter. Like they definitely kind of had some momentum, but Palace came out after the half and
Yeah.
put in a good shift. I think 2-0 is a little unjust. I think this easily could have been a 1-1 scoreline or 2-1 even.
So they had the
But
exact number of shots as each other and the exact number of shots on target as each other. Super weird.
absolutely. But like you said, Gabriel Jesus came out and looked really good. Like he came out and he showed the world that like maybe he was better than what he was doing at City because he may have been limited. It was almost like we got to see Gabriel Jesus when he plays for Brazil. And I think that if he continues that form up, sprinkle in a couple of goals here and there, that's a dangerous team.
It is Uncle Gus here in chat, who is very much a regular in our channel here. Much love to him. He says, Arsenal are like an FM player's dream, all youth, all potential. Exactly, their process, man. It's trust the process. It was a meme. They were memed for trusting the process, and Edu Gaspar has, I think, done a phenomenal job of identifying their strategy, sticking to it, and, I mean, they look phenomenal. Martinelli is so fun to watch. Saliba, exactly. Jamie 1987 in chat here says, William Saliba looked really comfortable. I was fortunate enough, I've talked about this before. I've watched Saliba live while he was on loan at Marseille. I've been to a game in person and he stood out levels above the rest of the back line on either team in France. So, I think if Arsenal, the main thing again, the midfield, staying healthy and being consistent. If those three things happen for Arsenal, I still stick with the fact that for me, they finish quite high up. I had them third in my prediction preseason. People said Tottenham deserves third. I said I agree, it's 50-50 between the two. But the Arsenal that we saw in the preseason, someone in chat made a comment last podcast, Arsenal treated the preseason like a World Cup. And I think it's evident, man. They were raring to go, but early signs of a bit of sluggishness in that match, but it's the first game of the season.
I mean, winning breeds confidence, so if you treat the preseason like a World Cup, and if you start winning, then go on, son. Just
Also,
keep
shout out
winning.
to Ben White. He had a great game. I think he had a
their
great
whole
game.
back line looked really good.
Yeah.
And he played it he lined up technically at right back. I do think that they Arteta used that system more as like a 3-back and allowed Zinchenko to kind of move up and down the left wing at like a little bit more fluidly in attack. So that way it's a little bit more of a 3-back. But I will say that their midfield to me is still kind of suspect.
That's what
And
I think. Midfield, yeah.
I think that's where Crystal Palace kind of showed maybe some areas for exploitation. So this week for Arsenal is going to be really fun to watch to see if that gets drawn any attention to, because Xhaka got another yellow card. He's a yellow card machine. He's going
Yeah.
to probably get one every game. I thought he probably should have got a second yellow card
Yep.
in that game. But
The memes were everywhere, by the way, for all the
Yeah.
tackles, like the Romero tackle in the Spurs game. As soon as it happened, if that was Xhaka, that's a straight red.
well, I saw I think it was even Arsenal tweeted it on their official account
Oh,
when
did
he
they?
got his yellow card. When Xhaka got his yellow card, I think they tweeted out saying Arsenal football's back. And I was like, good lord.
There's three things in life that are guaranteed: death, taxes, and Granit Xhaka getting booked, right?
But Thomas Partey to me, one has
Sorry,
all
who?
the yeah, exactly. He has all the stuff off the field that he's dealing with, but he also didn't look great. He looked kind of sluggish, and I feel like he's a good holding midfielder, but he was kind of like a walking turnover. Anytime he had the ball in any sort of position of meaning, he didn't really have any plays that really made it look like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
He's just kind of a big body in the midfield, which if that's what he needs to be used for, I feel like you gotta use somebody other than Xhaka. So I think that their midfield's still a little sus.
100% agreed.
I mean, Odegaard looked phenomenal in the midfield. He's the only part that
I mean, he was
you know,
touted as one of the next big things a few
Yeah.
years ago, right?
that diamond up front with Martinelli, Jesus, Saka, and Odegaard is phenomenal. By the way, they have Nikita coming off the bench. By the way,
Yeah, number
who is,
14.
a phenomenal
Number
youngster as
14
well.
at Arsenal, nonetheless.
I thought it was really interesting to see Zinchenko actually start over Kieran
Zinchenko
Tierney.
did really well.
But he played really well.
Zinchenko
He
did
picked
really
up
well.
exactly where he left off with United.
Really smart
Um,
recruitment. Yeah,
I think didn't he get one credited with a goal contribution on the first goal?
I think so.
I don't remember, but
I think the fact that they brought guys like Zinchenko and Jesus over, by the way, from City to now be main people in those roles is phenomenal. How we roll Owen here says Tierney is out. Blessing in disguise for Zinchenko, possibly, because he showed up great in that
he was
first.
subbed on in that game.
Was he?
So,
Yeah, maybe just
he's
coming back from an
feeling
injury. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, I mean, putting Zinchenko and Jesus in a position where they can almost, well, maybe not Zinchenko every game if he's competing with Tierney, but Jesus is I've said this before, he's one of my favorite signings for this offseason. I think he will finish in the top 3 of the Golden Boot race, if not towards the top, if he can put it together. Being a focal point in a team is going to be of a huge benefit to him because he's always been one of 97 goal scoring options at Man City. Now he is that guy. So I think it's looking good for Arsenal if they can stay consistent.
I actually almost think the opposite. I think that I don't get me wrong. I think he's going to have a ton of goal contributions. He's going to be a key player, and like you said, probably one of the signings of the season. However, I actually think that he's going to have probably close to the same goal numbers as
Interesting.
Mertzi.
I think he'll just be more involved in the build-up and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think Arteta's kind of building more towards a system kind of like what Man City uses,
Interesting.
where the fullbacks charge forward a little bit more. At times, he lines up with a third center back out of position. I mean, we almost saw how United line up a lot of times. So
Yeah.
I feel like Jesus, and it's not a discredit to him because he's a phenomenal player and he showed that. But the people that he has around him are also, like you said, really young, but also really good. And if you haven't watched the first 3 episodes of the All or Nothing for Arsenal,
Which I haven't yet, by the way.
Go watch those 3 episodes because
For those of you on Spotify, I'm closing my ears so I don't hear spoilers. I'm just kidding.
No spoilers.
No, I know,
but
I'm kidding, yeah.
it opens your eyes to the support that Arteta has at Arsenal. You know, losing
Huge.
games like they
Trust
lost
the
last
process.
season, and watching the board come in there and be like, "Yo, what can we do? How can we make this better?" Not, "Hey, we have to do better." You know, we're Arsenal. We need, but no, like them coming to him saying, "Block out the noise. How can we make this better? What can we do as a team to make this better?" Like
100%.
that was phenomenal to see that as a board having full support of their manager, and they talk about how they are developing young. They want to sell old and they want to buy young. They want to sell old. And so you're seeing the profits of that labor right now. And this is going to be a scary team the next couple of years. I think
100%.
they're probably locked in top 5 for the next couple of years unless they start selling players.
As they were for so long under Arsene Wenger. Dazermeister here says Arsenal's recruitment recently has been immense, exactly building on your point, Michael. Taking players like Zinchenko, Jesus, and Odegaard from big clubs who didn't show them enough love necessarily, along with bringing in the youngsters that they have. By the way, side note, I Googled Kieran Tierney just as we were talking about him. Not necessarily reliable, but there are 74 articles on my screen right now in my face saying Manchester City has made him their number one target, because the Cucurella bid was unsuccessful for them, so they're
Well, they
looking
need a
for
left back.
yeah. So Tierney to Man City might be one to watch, but you know what? Okay, I think that's good for that. Is there anything final you want to add, Michael?
No, I think that I kind of touching base on the point that we mentioned earlier. By the way, Stick, shout out for the raid.
Shout out to Stick, guys.
H2.
Guys listening on Spotify or watching on YouTube, Stick Piano, the absolute legend on Twitch here, has rated us with a party of 26 lovely people who are joining the podcast. Much love to you, Stick, for the raid. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys can enjoy some of this podcast here for the next hour and a half or so.
But I think to touch base on what we talked about earlier, I feel like this is something that Man United need to take note of is they need to stop trying to buy players that can fix this shit now. Excuse me for the language. Just fix the situation now. But they need to buy players that are going to develop into something. I think Jadon Sancho was a step in the right direction. I feel like they need to continue down that path rather than the Cristiano Ronaldos or the Iron Rabios and those kind of guys. I feel like they need to buy the players that are going to develop into a system that they can then win games with and stop trying to just put band-aids on broken legs, which is what Arsenal did. Arsenal took a step back. They're like, yep, one, no big players want to come to us right now because we're a meme in the world. Two, the players that we can get that do want to come here are just coming here for a paycheck. So they started buying young, they invested into the team, and look what they did. You know, they're a scary team.
They are a very scary team, and like we say, trust the process has been thrown out so many times, but this is literally the exact definition of what happens when you actually trust the process.
And they were away that game.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Arsenal supporters because they were louder than the Palace supporters,
which is a hard thing to do, by the way.
Yeah. And they have, when they get to London, when they get to play in front of the Gunners, and they're having this type of performance.
Yeah.
Woo, the
100%.
London Derby this year, by the way, is going to be lit. I am excited.
Fireworks.
Oh
yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, cool. We'll move on to that. I just do want to touch on quickly. Thank you guys who are here from the raid. This is our weekly podcast on Thursday that is available on YouTube and Spotify as well after the fact. We talk on weekly topics, and thank you for joining us. Hope you have a good time. Gus, there was a lot of Man United talk. The video will be up on YouTube in like 24-ish hours, so you can rewind and listen to the United stuff. But let's move on then to...
See? Always United fans.
No, to be fair, Gus joined in a little later and he was like, we're done. I know. He said no more. There was United talk, but no more because we have a full slate of stuff. Oh, he's saying no more. Okay, I completely read it wrong. Uncle Gus is the United fan saying, please, no more United talk. All right, let's move on. Manchester City, West Ham. I was sat there watching that match saying, wow, this is a snooze fest. I'd been up since 5 a.m. Canadian time watching. I was like, okay, this match is going to put me to sleep. And even through a sluggish performance where, City weren't all up to it, there was just a freight train from Norway running through and destroying the West Ham defense. What are your thoughts on the fact that now we have a Manchester City team who may not be at their best for 60, 70 minutes, and it takes one through ball to just have a massive Norwegian beast running down at your goalie and most likely scoring?
Yeah, Kevin De Bruyne, by the way, is still my pick for the best midfielder in the world.
I can fully agree with that sentiment.
Modric is in that conversation for me, but Kevin De Bruyne is, in my opinion, the best midfielder in the world, and he showed it with one pass. The ability to pick out that run and curve it just so that way the center back had no opportunity to make a play on that ball. Absolutely phenomenal. And this is against Kurt Zouma, who isn't a slow center back, by the way.
No.
Kurt Zuma's got some pace to him.
Yeah.
I will say that Ben Johnson completely falls asleep on Holland there and kind of set Kurt Zouma up to look a little bit worse for wear. But that's what Holland does to you. You look at this freight train and you're like, there's no way this guy can run 20 miles an hour, and he just boom, gone. And next thing you know, you just concede it. And it causes problems because you have to load up a fullback for him, somebody that can
Hmm.
keep up with him, or you have to have a center back. Like it causes matchup problems in the back
Exactly.
line
And
with a player like this.
that is fully being echoed in chat. Dazermeister says City can play on 60%. I would argue even less than 60%. And if Haaland is even at 80 or 90%, they will blitz the league. The Bear underscore 23 with a first time message here in Twitch says that run by Haaland for the second goal. Just watch it over and over again. Explosive, fast, huge. He's unstoppable. That's what blew my mind from this whole thing. Looking at a guy of his size, it's just mental that he can be as athletic, as explosive, and a thing that I said about Haaland is the way he plays kind of scares me in a sense. He's almost like those hockey players that go flying down the ice at like 200 miles an hour and just throw themselves into everything, right? Because it scares me that he might, overextend himself or whatever, but that's just what he knows. I think he doesn't know how to play at anything less than that level. On the contrary, West Ham's super disappointing for me. Yes, it's
Yes.
Manchester City, but West Ham were at home. We saw what Fulham were willing to do against Liverpool at home. I'm not saying Liverpool and City was the same task, given that obviously it was a new look city that no one knew what was going to happen. But I was very much disappointed with West Ham. It was very much Route One. It was, even though it's Route One, there was no drive. There was back to that Chelsea fan who said there's no passion, there's no desire, whatever. It felt very flat. And don't know what your thoughts are on West Ham's side of it there, Michael.
Yeah, West Ham was really a letdown, especially considering how defensive they came out with Kurt Zuma, Ben Johnson in the midfield, with Declan Rice and Suchek in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
They really came out with like a back six almost,
Yep.
and they still were just getting kind of picked apart. And City only scored 2 goals, but they definitely could have put up more than that.
Yeah.
I do think that West Ham came out a little bit on the in the driver's seat in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
Got some quality chances. They controlled the ball a little bit. They really took it
Some
to Man
chances. I won't
City.
call them quality, but I'll agree. Some chances.
Yeah. But Man City just showed that
Yeah.
they can flip that switch. And to your point, Holland is a freak of nature physically, but he has shown that he can be a little bit of a glass cannon, and especially his hamstrings
Yeah.
can falter on him. So
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to see if he can make those runs consistently. But if he can, the rest of the team that City surround him with, Jack Grealish, I think, and Phil Foden are going to be able to have a
Grealish
ton
didn't
more.
look half that bad in the first game.
No.
Um,
It's because he has the space now.
Now,
He has a
exactly.
striker that's
Exactly.
opening that space.
Exactly. Stick Piano here says, hot take, De Bruyne's pass was better than the run. Not a hot take at all. A very good take. It just shows we are so excited, or I was so excited to see how Haaland fits into the team, what it looks like, that it is so easy to just take De Bruyne's absolute perfection, artistry in midfield for granted. If this is the understanding they've built after a month of training together, if this is, what we're seeing from De Bruyne connecting with Haaland on day one, it's going to be unbelievable. I think it's a scary thought, and Kevin De Bruyne is going to have probably one of the scariest seasons we've seen from him yet. Yeah.
De Bruyne was nasty the whole game.
Yeah.
The hot take for me this game was that when Calvin Phillips came on, Calvin Phillips did not look good.
Yeah.
I think he's still settling into that system, but it's unfortunate because I think he deserves first team football. And as he is right now, I don't think he's going to get a ton of first team football unless he edges out Gundogan.
Yeah.
But Gundogan had a phenomenal game. So I don't think Calvin Phillips looked really solid.
Yeah, I don't know
for
where.
me.
Yeah.
Granted, he only got like a minute and a half worth of football, but he came on and just didn't really look like he belonged in that system yet. So I'm going to hold my reservations until he gets to probably play, a good half of football. But
well, like Ignoble Cynic here says, Phillips had a lot of injuries last season and is still somewhat recovering. And we looked at that when we were looking at our transfers a couple of episodes ago. We talked about, I think, how Calvin Phillips only made 20 appearances for was it 20 or something in the last season, and he did miss a significant portion of the season injured. So yeah, it's scary. And everyone's saying here like, just play a ball in behind the channel and Haaland will get into it, this and that. I think even if De Bruyne gets his passes even a few inches wrong, he is such a good creator that now that you have Haaland on the end of misplaced even De Bruyne passes, those are probably going to get converted into goals, let alone the perfect passes from him.
That's the other thing about Haaland, is such a freak of nature that if you do get that ball off, a lot of strikers would lose those 50-50s against, VVD or Matip or Varane or anything like that. These bigger center backs that are in the league. But Haaland is bigger than Virgil van Dijk and faster than Virgil van Dijk. So even if that pass isn't, you know, quite up to speed,
He
like you
could
said,
bully. Yeah.
he has the physicality to
Yeah. Yeah.
win
Yeah.
that ball,
Yeah. Yeah.
which makes him scary on set pieces too,
Yep.
because you have such a physical presence in the box that
Yeah.
you now you throw um, Ruben Diaz, you throw Aymeric Laporte when he's healthy again,
Mm-hmm.
who are also amazing threats in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Rodri's an amazing threat in the air. Like
Yeah.
City are now that much more dangerous on set pieces. So it's
Yeah.
a scary team.
Yeah.
But for me, I still think Liverpool's probably the better rounded team.
Mm.
But they didn't really show it the first week
Exactly.
against a weaker team, in my opinion. So
100%. Cool. We're approaching almost an hour here. I want to touch on a few of the other games before we move on to another league, possibly. So the rest of the league, then looking around the Premier League, Bournemouth with a surprise first match day victory against Aston Villa, 2-0 for Bournemouth. Shout out to Bournemouth in front of their home fans. The Cherries are back in the Premier League. Aston Villa, very disappointing. Newcastle, Nottingham
yes.
Forest ended 2. Do you want to touch on that, by the way, Michael, or are you okay if we...
Aston, like you said, Aston Villa was just really disappointing. On paper, they had the better team in every position, and they had a ton of chances to win that game. They just collapsed defensively. And it was
Defensively, they
very,
don't
very
look good. Yeah.
disappointing.
Yeah.
Which
Big-
is annoying because Konsa and Mings were phenomenal last year. They were a phenomenal defensive pairing, which is one of the reasons they were able to bounce back. But wasn't a good showing for them first week.
Was not. Newcastle Nottingham Forest kind of broke my heart. I was hoping for a surprise victory for Nottingham Forest, or at least a draw. Newcastle in St. James's Park is always such a tough match.
Yeah.
Relentless pressure from Newcastle. Nottingham Forest did well to hold their own. Shout out to Fabian Schär, wonder goal. Feels like he did it 2-3 years ago. We've seen the clip, mirror, wonder goal, same position, and then the second goal was a great finish from Callum Wilson, who, if he stays healthy, I really enjoy as a striker. A poacher's finish there. Nottingham Forest is a team we both have a soft spot for. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Same thing. I think they just kind of, like, we had high hopes for them. They didn't really show up that day. I think they put in a really good first half. Second half kind of got away from them a little bit, but it was a good game. I think that Newcastle just outperformed them.
Yeah.
It was a really fun game to watch. Like I said, it wasn't a steamroll by Newcastle.
Now
It was
that you say
definitely a good match.
the fact that you say fun game to watch, shout out to Dazza for reminding me. Did you guys see the Nottingham Forest corner routine? I know we all probably did in here, but if you haven't, guys on Spotify or YouTube or anywhere else, if you guys haven't, please go check out Nottingham Forest's creative corner routine against Newcastle in match week 1.
Yeah.
Good point there. Well, McGarnagle says Tyrone Mings is no longer the club captain at Aston Villa. I need to look more into what's going on there, but I did hear that there's a lot of issues going on with that whole situation, so we'll probably bring that up for it next week. A couple of the other results then. Leeds against Wolves. Brendan Harrison gets his goal. I think they credited it to him. I think it was a borderline own goal, but they gave it to him. Wolves looked flat without a true striker. Neto and Podence are obviously kind of interchanging and causing havoc up front, but they need to have an out-and-out striker, and a spicy exchange at full-time between Jesse March and Bruno Large there.
Yeah. Well, Leeds impressed me. I'll say that outright. Leeds impressed me. They look like a good side.
Which, by the way, for what it's worth, both Michael and I said that we think they had a phenomenal summer and will be just about fine this year.
Yeah, let's get the USA chance going. But I feel like Leeds definitely performed really, really well. I feel like they were kind of let down. I feel like they should have got a penalty early in the game. I feel like Jose Sá just absolutely smacked the crap out of what's his name on Leeds, but
Bamford?
yeah, Bamford. I think it was Bamford. But when he came out and he punched the ball away, I thought he got all head and didn't even make a chance to the ball. So I had it as a penalty. But either way, they still got the goal later. So it's really kind of a moot point. But they looked really good.
Shout out Rodrigo, by the way. Feels like he's been around forever, still performing.
Yeah. I feel like the early goal from Podence really woke them up, and they came back to perform. The problem is they you shouldn't need that every game.
Yeah.
So I will also say Rodrigo's goal made Jose Sá also look like ass. He conceded one of the worst near post goals I've seen in a Premier League game ever. So you're not going to get those kind of goals every game. So
yeah,
I'm taking it with a grain of salt. They did look good. They created a ton. They moved the ball very well.
But still, lots
and
of
other
football.
than the one goal they conceded, they look good defensively. So
And again,
I'm excited for how they're doing. On the flip side to that, though, is Wolves look like they're probably going to be lower than you and I predicted.
Yep.
Because they're struggling, and they're also linked to a lot of a lot of the players are linked to leaving already.
Shout out. We will talk about this later, but Gonzalo Guedes coming to Wolves to be talked about later. I still think Bruno Lage, however, I'm sorry for my Portuguese friends. I don't know how to say it, but I think he'll be the first manager sacked this year. And also, guys, remember, we're talking all of this stuff. It's match week 1. There's still 37 games to go. One more before we get into 2 that we want to talk about more in detail before moving on to another league. The last one that's kind of a quick brush over is Leicester-Brentford 2-2. Leicester's got to be disappointed with that result, I would say.
I think so. Shout out to Brentford, though. Brentford came out and played really, really well. They fought that game. I mean, they were 2-0 down straight out of halftime, and they woke up and they fought until the end. So I feel like it's probably 2 points lost for Leicester, but 1.1 for Brentford again. But Leicester, they did score 2 goals, but Leicester did not look like a good team. I feel like they benefited from playing a 4-side in Brentford, but they did not look good.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, one that we want to move on to where Michael's going to give a little bit of insight. One that I wasn't able to fully watch because I was too engrossed in Newcastle Nottingham Forest. Tottenham Hotspur 4, Southampton 1. Tottenham went down early, recovered really well, and all I know is that I think it was it Gineppo? No, Salisu, sorry. Mohamed Salisu with, if you guys haven't seen it, probably one of the weirdest own goals I've seen in recent memory. Please go check out Mohamed Salisu's own goal. Or don't, and let him just be peaceful and sleep at night.
Yeah. He basically hit it into his own, like he couldn't.
It was a good
better,
finish, man. He was moving backwards and struck it with his left foot. But go ahead and talk about Tottenham, man. Sessegnon, like Dazzer says, had a great game. Talk about Tottenham, man.
Yeah, James Ward-Prowse, by the way, shout out to him.
Shout out to JWP.
The phenomenal goal. It's crazy the amount of quality goals, by the way, that we saw this weekend.
Phenomenal.
Like there was a lot of top class finishes, but
including one in the championship that I'm going to shout out later.
Yeah, JWP had a phenomenal first time volley. We saw 2 of them first time volleys hit into the ground score this weekend.
Yep.
So he had a phenomenal game, but again, the team around him, Southampton did not look good outside of him. Kulishevsky looks like
I had them getting relegated.
Yeah, I did too. I think Kulishevsky is, if the way he played this game, if he's able to replicate that in the rest of the season, I think Kulishevsky looks like he's going to be in contention for one of the players of the season. He was phenomenal, both cutting inside and creating his own goal, the goal that he scored, creating the goal that I want to say Dyer scored. I think it was Dyer on the back.
Yeah, it was the header. Dyer was the front post. Sessegnon was.
It was Sessegnon.
Yeah.
It was he created the goal for Sessegnon, and Sessegnon Son created the goal for Dyer.
Yeah.
But either way, he created that phenomenal cross.
Gimme. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He looks
so good,
nasty,
so good.
And the crazy thing is that they didn't even play Perisic for any meaningful minutes that game. Sessegnon came on.
Basuma as well didn't play as much, right, or at all. Did he make an appearance? I don't think he even did.
Yeah, he got subbed on. He got a yellow card.
Okay.
He got subbed on in the 87th minute, and he got a yellow card. That shows you the kind of game he had. But he came on, and I feel like he had a name to prove for himself. But Sessegnon had a
nice to see
game.
Sessegnon play that way, man. It's he was one that was borderline becoming a bit worrying to wonder what's going to happen with his career and where that's going to go. And it's really nice to see that he's being shown some faith.
But that Tottenham team looks scary with Kulishevsky in that system for the full year. Youngman's son, Harry Kane looked like he was going to be. Harry Kane looks like he's going to be probably more of a false 9 role this year,
which he's so good at. So good at doing that.
Yeah, his passing is underrated, and his ability to hold up play is underrated. So having Son and Kulishevsky being able to overlap, we also saw a ton of overlap from Emerson Royale this game. So Emerson's getting involved in the attack now. Unfortunate because he missed an absolute sitter of a header. But they're a scary looking team. Grain of salt, it was at home against Southampton. Who
let's find out next weekend.
Yeah, we both picked to be relegated. But if they can play that way against their next couple games, they have
Chelsea next.
Chelsea in Stamford Bridge.
First home game for Chelsea. It's gonna be exciting. As a Chelsea fan, I'm nervous, but we will talk about that when we talk about next week. I want to touch. Is there anything else you want to add on Tottenham, by the way?
No,
Okay.
like you said, give me a Swede.
Gimme a ginger from Sweden. Na, 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 na. I don't, yeah. Anyways, I can't believe I'm singing Tottenham chant, by the way. I should get crucified. But okay. The final game that we haven't touched about in the Premier... Shut up. The final game that... I mean, would love, shut up. The final game was an X-rated game. There were some NSFW situations in this game. No, I'm just kidding. Everton-Chelsea. You know, bleh. Very bleh. Shout out to Everton. Let's start with there. I am a Chelsea fan. I've been a diehard Chelsea fan for almost 15 years of my life. Shout out to Everton. A lot better than what I remember from last season. Well, technically, they beat us 1-0 last season, so I should remember them being pretty good against Chelsea. However, lots of people expecting Everton to struggle. Richarlison leaves, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is injured, Solomon Rondon is injured. What's going to happen with them? I think they played bloody well. I think they made it really difficult. Of course, Goodison Park, home opener, always going to be a very tough game.
Yep.
But Everton did really well. I think Iwobi was bright. I think that, you know, they Tarkowski was a beast in defense for them. Yerry Mina, I just cannot stand the guy, but okay. Ben Godfrey.
Oh, Godfrey. Oh,
Best wishes to Ben Godfrey. Get well soon. When he flew in on that tackle, if
you have a weak stomach, do not look at that.
Do not watch that, especially in slow motion, guys. Best wishes to Ben Godfrey.
He's out for the year.
Yeah, like all I can say is best wishes to him, and hope he's.
I actually saw a report that says he might be lucky to play again. It was that bad.
That was a
fracture.
disgusting fracture. Mykal was great for them, and yeah. So I think, you know, from an Everton perspective, if they can get some wins at home in Goodison Park, they will be okay. As much as people like to say Frank Lampard is a terrible manager, this, that, the other, I think that if Everton figures it out, they've brought in Amadou Onana and they have brought in Connor Cody, which we'll talk about later. Still need a striker or two, in my opinion. However, let's see what they do. From a Chelsea... Go ahead, yeah.
Because they lined up in a 5-4-1. It was very defensive for a home game.
Correct.
And they popped Anthony Gordon as striker.
Yet the counter-attack was perfection. Right. The counter-attack was perfection.
Countered very, very well. And they defended really well. I mean, they held you guys to a goal on a penalty.
They did.
But I don't think that's the type of football that we want to see out of Lampard, though, at an Everton side.
To be fair, though, first match against Chelsea, you know, I think you almost had to set up that way if you were Everton, just to make sure that you give yourself the best chance of at least getting a point from the game, if not, you know, frustrating them into shithousing a win kind of thing. Iwobi looked nice when he played centrally, by the way. That might be a decent shout for a striker situation if they're not able to bring someone in. From a Chelsea perspective, Kalidou Koulibaly is immense. He's perfection to watch. The fact that Chelsea has Thiago Silva and Kalidou Koulibaly, albeit in their mid to late 30s respectively, still amazing defenders. Ben Chilwell should not have started that match. Cucurella looked amazing when he came on for his cameo. Chilwell is still coming back from that terrible injury, so I think he should be probably eased into the game a little more. The midfield, I've talked about this before. Jorginho scored the penalty, okay, but Kovacic needs to start. I get that he's coming off an injury, but for me, Mateo Kovacic is the first name on that team sheet, probably alongside N'Golo Kante. Sterling was bright. We haven't had a player that drives directly into the opposition's areas and does something with the ball, so he was really bright. Kai Havertz, again, seems to be that odd man out. Not sure where he fits in. Actually read a rumor today that Bayern is still monitoring his situation, but no formal contact has been made. I personally, as much as I love Kai Havertz, I wouldn't be opposed to him finding a team where because he has tons of potential. He just needs to be used properly, and I don't think he's being used properly at Chelsea, even though he scored the most important goal in the recent 10 years for us. But yeah, I think overall, you know, Edouard Mendy had a phenomenal game. Someone who I've been actually quite disappointed with recently. If you watch every Chelsea game, you want to pull your hair out watching him sometimes, even though he gets, you know, oh, Mendy's such a good goalie. He really sometimes isn't. But yeah, exciting times at Chelsea if we use these players properly. It seems like Ruben Loftus-Cheek is deputized as a full-time backup right back now. Pulisic came on for a cameo, didn't do a whole lot, and then Cucurella, like I said, was phenomenal. So the new signings, looks like they fit right into Tuchel's plans. Hopefully we continue to see them. But shout out to Everton. That is what I'll say. Hats off. The fact that it took a Jorginho penalty to beat Everton at home is that's my main talk.
Soft penalty too, if you're being honest.
Soft, but then let's talk about the fact
justified, but soft.
But then let's talk about the harassment that Sterling actually didn't endure, but probably enjoyed. Yeah. Anyways, dominated from some of the big boys. Say that again. Do it again, please. Getting a little bit dominated from some of the big boys. There we go. Anyways, so yeah, fun game, scrappy game, and GG's all around. Let's move on to a match that you were just enjoying because flares were being thrown from,
Bro,
well, maybe not enjoying, but let's talk about Bayern Munich. How should I phrase this? Steamrolling the Europa League winners,
yeah, yeah. I mean,
destroying, dominating, bulldozing.
absolutely, it just dismantled Frankfurt. With, by the way, they still had Jovetic. So the they came out and Bayern looked like one of the scariest teams I've seen, and not just as a Bayern fan, but if you want to see a scary team play, watch that first half Bayern put on against Frankfurt. Everything that they did, the way they swarmed the ball defensively, the way every attack looked like it was lethal and going to end up in the back of the net. That was a scary team.
Shout out to Jamal Musiala.
Yeah, the only goal that they conceded was kind of a lapse in judgment.
Let's just say it was
by-
Manuel Neuer being Manuel Neuer.
I would almost blame Teo Hernandez a little bit more.
Yeah,
than
fair enough,
Manuel
fair enough,
Neuer,
fair enough, fair enough.
But Manuel Neuer does his fair share of
Like
he gets
20,
kinda cocky.
20 eccentricity on FM. If
Yeah.
you know, you know.
You know, when you're 6-0 up, you kind of, or excuse me,
You
5-0
get bored.
up,
You get bored.
kinda-
You want to touch the ball a little
Yeah.
bit. Manuel Neuer was
Yeah.
like, "Hey guys, let me do something here. Let me do a Rabona
Yeah.
or something." Yeah.
So, but it was a scary, scary performance. Musiala looked way older than the 19 that he is,
Yeah.
or 20, I think now. But,
I still feel like he's 17. It's crazy.
dude, Sadio Mane looked. This team looks. I was telling you, and when we were talking about it when the match was going on, Bayern looked better than they did with Lewandowski. It's game one, so there is an asterisk next to it. But that game was one of the best games I've ever seen them play, and they didn't have Lewandowski up front.
Now
The fluidity that they had up front was just scary.
I'm gonna ask a question to chat here, and I'm probably gonna start a war. I was having this debate with Michelle, and she fully disagreed with what I'm just asking. I don't have an opinion either way, but she said no is her answer. Bayern destroys Frankfurt 6-1. Fast forward 3 days or 4 days
In Frankfurt.
In Frankfurt.
By the way.
Fast forward 3 to 4 days, and Frankfurt plays Real Madrid in the Super Cup, and Real Madrid does win 2-0, but Frankfurt made that a hell of a game. Would you then be able to compare the quality between Real Madrid and Bayern because of the fact that they just played them back to back and we saw the difference in quality? Or is that not a comparison that you can make? I'm just curious. Is it apples to oranges or what? Obviously, if they played them 6 months ago and then you compared, it makes no sense. But the fact that these were the two back-to-back games for Frankfurt and they were very different looking games, curious what you guys think about that. While McGarnagle in chat here says, hot take, Sadio Mane will score 30 goals. Michael?
I don't think so. I think it's another situation where it's kind of like I think they're going to have like a Man City situation where it's going to be a ton of different goal scorers. They'll probably have multiple players with 15 goals. I wouldn't be surprised you see like Thomas Muller, Sadio Mane,
Musiala,
Gnabry, or
Gnabry.
Rosane. Yeah, you'll probably have a lot of players with 10 to 15 goals, but I don't think you'll have one that's 25 plus like you used to with Lewandowski scoring 40 a year. So they just looked really, really fluid up front. For me, though, I watched the Real Madrid Frankfurt game, and Frankfurt looked like the better team for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had
Thibaut Courtois kept Real Madrid in the game for the
Yeah.
majority of the first half.
Yeah, in my opinion, Thibaut Courtois has now won 2 trophies for Real Madrid in the last year. He won them the Champions League flat out with some of the saves that he had in a 1-0 game. And then in a 2-0 game, I will say Frankfurt, the first goal, Frankfurt just got really sloppy, and Alaba was able to take advantage of that set piece. But the second goal, at that point you're chasing the game. It's late in the game. So, but Frankfurt had 3 one-on-one opportunities with Thibaut Courtois, and he saved them.
Kamada should have, yeah.
They also had a deflected shot inside the box that Courtois was able to adjust to midair and somehow save it. Like, Courtois has to be recognized, by the way, as one of the best keepers in the world, if not the.
Shout out to Thibaut Courtois' wrists, by the way. We all watch football. We all watch, how goalies save it and their wrists. This guy will have an absolute slap shot of a bullet hit his hands, and his wrist will not fluctuate even an inch. Just such a strong wrist. So good. in terms of my question about comparing the Bayern and Real Madrid, a couple of comments here in chat. Well, McGarnagle says it's a cup final, so that changes things. The way Frankfurt approached that could possibly be a lot more different than they might have at league game. Fair enough. Also, Not says they played the second game after a good slapping. That's true point too. I mean, Bayern dominated them, and so Frankfurt probably had a lot more to prove in that game, right? And then one more. Yeah, go ahead.
Frankfurt opened their season though. Like
Yeah.
it's your opening day at home.
Yeah.
It's not just like a regular game. This was their banner night, by the way. They decided to raise their Europa League banner and celebrate their trophy against Bayern at home. And I think Bayern was like, "Hey, guess what? We got more stars on our shirt than you
Just
do."
a reminder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good
You know,
points, though.
we put UCL stars on our shirts. So
Levels.
I feel like I don't want to disrespect Frankfurt and say that they didn't take their home opener seriously, because their fans definitely don't think that. Their fans came out and were throwing flares at Bayern Munich after the fucking fourth goal. Like it was a riot in Frankfurt. 4 goals in, and they were letting their team know it. They was like, last season's last season. This season you just lost 6-1 at home to Bayern. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
So I think that's a great topic on Bayern. 2 comments here from Dark Raiden, who I have a soft spot for because he suffered through the Leverkusen Dortmund game as a Leverkusen fan, and I want to touch on that briefly. But Dark Raiden, with the music to Michael's ears, Bayern winning the Champions League this season.
If they play like they did that, yeah. Like I said, we've kind of already asterisked a lot of the games. It's week 1, so it's kind of hard to know. But
Who's stopping Bayern is the question right now, I guess.
I mean, they'll win the group stage, no problem. They'll make it out of the group stage. I don't see that being a problem. Number 1 seeds not making it out of the group stage is basically non-existent. So
Yeah.
however, it's the knockout rounds that always matter, because
Yeah.
you can get a strong second seed down in the knockout rounds, and wasn't Real Madrid a second seed? Didn't they have to go through all the knockout rounds as a second seed last season? If
I think so.
remember?
Yeah.
So Chelsea was a second seed when they won.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were a second seed when they got drafted out of the knockout rounds. So
Yeah.
there's a lot that has to do with the draw,
Yep.
but they are a scary team, and it's going to boil down to health, and it's going to boil down to that World Cup health too.
Yep.
So
Cool. Beautiful. Thank you guys for the input as always. Let's move on to the rest. Some other results in the Bundesliga. Like I said, firstly, shout out to Dark Raiden for sitting through the 1-0 Dortmund Leverkusen. It was a match where you felt like Leverkusen had so many chances and it just wouldn't go into the back of the net for them. Statistically, you look at it and it seems like Dortmund created a lot more, but every time I looked up, because I was watching that on the side, every time I looked up, Leverkusen was in with the chance. It would either be blocked or saved. Or Moussa Diaby looked amazing, by the way. Hradecki with a 92nd minute red card for Leverkusen, but I don't know if you had a chance to catch up with those highlights. Michael, what was your takeaway from that?
the takeaway from this game for me was Adeyemi getting hurt. I mean, they were going to rely on him pretty heavily, and he got hurt. So,
by the way, shout out to Dortmund for starting 3 strikers: Daniel Malen, Karim Adeyemi, and Youssoufa Moukoko up front. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah. So, getting the red card at the end of the game. I mean, and it was Hradecki, getting a red card. That's kind of interesting. So,
yeah. The biggest thing for me was Patrick Schick. Sorry, Dark Raiden says here, Schick had 2 clear-cut chances. That's very true. He was in behind twice, I think, one-on-one, and just wasn't able to find a finish.
Yeah. And that's why Schick fell out of favor with a lot of the big clubs. Like, he was linked to Bayern middle of last year, as soon as the Lewandowski rumors started. And he fell out of favor with a lot of big clubs because he doesn't finish his dinner, So, Leverkusen are one of those teams that are like you said, Neverkusen. I feel like they're close, but they're also so far away. Yeah. But it was an exciting game. I didn't get to watch the full thing.
Yep.
But the bits that I watched were exciting.
It was, if you weren't Dark Raiden, because Dark Raiden was just screaming at his TV, I'm sure. Also, I agree with Dark Raiden saying I like Moussa Diaby more as an inverted winger as to a winger. I agree. He's very bright. He's very direct. He has the ability to take people on, change the game. So Moussa Diaby one to watch over the next few months. And again, like we said, man, World Cup year. This is all an audition, for big moves. My takeaway from the week for the Bundesliga, and you can add yours, I guess, Michael, because I'm not going to go each game. But my main thing was I was in awe of the Berlin derby. The atmosphere was phenomenal. Shout out to German fans. I mean, you know this, Michael, with your German heritage and the fact that you have an affinity for that league. But I literally had full body chills and goosebumps during the Berlin derby. I'm still trying to go back and show Michelle the atmosphere. Highlights don't do it justice. You just need those moments of silence on the reel during the live feed where the commentators just soaking it up. Union Berlin is the team in Berlin to beat right now. Thoughts on that game, Michael, or any other games in general in the Bundesliga?
And that stadium did not feel like it was only 22,000 people.
No.
That felt like it was a 60,000 person stadium. Like they were lighting it up in Berlin, and that was a phenomenal performance by them too. They showed that they're the team that's up and coming. Not only
After losing Taiwo, after losing their main goal getter.
They're a strong team. They're building towards the future. They want to be, their director said that he wants to be a top 5 team in the Bundesliga, and shout out to them because they're putting in the work that they need to. They're going young. They're developing players, and they beat the crap out of Hertha Berlin. It was 3-1 on the scoreline, but that could have been, 5-1, 6-1. Like they put in a really solid performance.
And while we have our American brethren in chat, shout out to who? Shout out to Jordan Pefik scoring on his debut. What a weekend for American soccer fans here. Shout out to that as well. Also, just a phenomenal atmosphere. A great game to watch if you're getting into the Bundesliga. Something like the Berlin derby is sure to make your jaw drop. Brief other results. Schalke, tough start to life back in the Bundesliga. 3-1 loss to Köln and a red card for them. And then Leipzig struggling to a 1-1 draw against Stuttgart. Nkunku off the mark, but I mean, as we know, Timo Werner is back. But Leipzig with 28 shots, 68% possession, and just couldn't break down Stuttgart. Any final thoughts on the Bundesliga weekend, Michael?
Go back to when we picked the Bundesliga. I mean, we picked Stuttgart to be, mid-table, and they showed why. Like they're a solid team.
Yeah, hard to break down.
They definitely deserve to be recognized. So.
Yeah, cool. Anything else you want to add in the Bundesliga, my friend?
No, I mean to me it was the 3 really exciting games, the ones that we just talked about. Bayern, obviously, I am a little biased, but the Leipzig game was, like you said, just shot after shot after shot after shot, and then the Berlin derby was just fun as a football fan. So.
Yeah, cool. All right. Just want to say, guys, shout out to everybody tuned in on Twitch right now. If you're listening to this on Spotify or on YouTube, feel free to come check us out. Mykal87 and I stream this podcast on Twitch with our lovely communities. Also, shout out to Michael, man. If you guys are late to the party here, Michael is under the weather, but he is pushing through this like an absolute trooper. I've been sending him my best wishes and my love, but let's just send Michael great vibes and show him some love because he is pushing through this like an absolute legend. All right, let's move on then to, how do you want to do this, brother? You have, do you want to do the preview for the weekend ahead then?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Is there anything you want to point out for the week coming up here?
What day is it? It's going to be, so... Remember, Friday Night Football was kind of boring. There wasn't anything exciting on Friday. Sevilla, though, was going to be a little exciting to see them play. They open up the...
La Liga and Serie A is back.
Yeah. And Sevilla, opening their campaign on the road against Osasuna. But it's new look Sevilla, so with Alex Telles and Isco. We get to see they want to be a contender, and I think they've moved a couple pieces around to do it. So that'll be I'll tune into that one. But nothing else on Friday. The Dortmund game's kind of meh against Freiburg. I expect them to handle that one. But Saturday matches in the Premier League for me,
starting at 4:30 in the morning. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. God, 4:30 my time. By the way, this is for our UK fans who are listening to this or watching this later. The commitment that H2 and I have to have. This game starts 5:30 his time, 4:30 in the morning my time.
I will one up that.
Watching these Premier League games.
I will one up that. Shout out to our Australian friends who have to wake up at even more ungodly hours for these games, man. But yes, it is a grind, but I wouldn't have it any other way. But yeah, I agree with those. With some of those matches. Obviously, Chelsea-Tottenham for me is the big one. As a Chelsea fan, I am very much excited to see our home opener. Scared at the same time. Definitely think credit where credit's due. Tottenham looks the real deal. So for me, it's that one. But yeah, I'm just excited that Serie A and La Liga are back. I'm going to be trying to be watching a lot more Roma this season as well in Serie A. And for me, like I told you, Michael, I'm interested to tune into the Barcelona game. I know you said they're going to steamroll Rayo Vallecano. I'm curious to see what the hell their starting lineup is going to be. We're 2 days away from the La Liga season, and not to talk about Barcelona any more than we've already talked about them. Who's registered? Who's playing? Who's going to be on the field? What are they going to look like? I'm sure they'll find a way to win, but like, we've been talking about this all summer. I just want to see them on the field.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the link I sent to you guys.
In the Discord.
Yeah, so if you're watching on my chat, sorry, you're gonna be.
Michael's basically trying to find a link he shared earlier about the list of players. It might have been a DM, I'm not sure, but it's a list of players that are still to be registered in La Liga. Michael, go ahead.
So, La Liga starts Saturday, so tomorrow for our European fans already, but they haven't registered, and they cannot register these players. Robert Lewandowski, holy shit, how do you not figure that one out? Frank Kessié, you announced that in December of last year, so what the fuck have you been doing this whole time? Andreas Christensen, who cares? Let him go. Rafinha, you paid a lot of money for him, so figure that one out. By the way, you also have Ansu Fati and Dembele in that same spot, so okay. By the way, Ousmane Dembele, his new contract, haven't registered him. Jules Koundé, just signed him for, was it 80 million? Can't register him. And Sergio Roberto, who's been with the club for, I don't know, 60 years, it feels like. Can't register him.
While taking Frankie de Jong to court and saying his contract is illegal. What?
Yeah, you shared that meme of him, like Terminator staring at Xavi as he was talking to the fans, where he was just like it looked like he was ready to fucking just go after Xavi's head. And I don't think it's Xavi's fault. So I know that's probably not what it is, but that's the look that you're getting. You know what I mean? So,
by the way, not to generalize, obviously not all fans are like this, but when one Chelsea fan does something, the entire club is painted as racist. So I think it's fair that I can bring this up. Not being petty, just saying. Barcelona fans camped out outside the training ground, screaming obscenities and swear words at Frankie de Jong and telling him to reduce his salary. You bleep word. And his wife is happy there. His partner's happy. No, it is disgusting, and I'm sick of being told that it's not the fans. It's also a lot of the fans, not everyone, but there are a huge amount of Barcelona fans that are delusional about what's going on with that club. Anyways, Dark Raiden says what happened. Frankie de Jong was driving to training, and there was a group of fans posted outside recording him saying "reduce your salary, you bitch," or it was a Spanish word. I think it was something along those lines. But anyways, what I want to say is this.
I think it was a homophobic slur.
Okay, there we go. It's a homophobic slur. It's even worse. Listen. A piece of me wants Frankie de Jong to leave because he deserves better. I think he's a great player. I think he deserves better. And the way they're treating him is atrocious, criminal, disgusting, unethical, and absurd. However, if he wants to stay there because his family loves it, his wife loves it, he's settled, then the fact that he still wants to stay there while these fans, not everyone, I was in Barcelona at the Camp Nou last year against Cadiz. The fans loved Frankie de Jong at the time, but they've turned on him now because he's not reducing his salary. It's the entitlement for me. I've said this before. I say it again. It is the entitlement from the top down, guaranteeing Champions League profits to leverage their future when they haven't even qualified for the future years. Fans assuming that players are just going to reduce their salaries to make the club work. Delusional from top to the bottom. Convince me otherwise. Call me crazy. Say that I have a harsh take on it. It's been a whole summer of this, and it is ugly. It is something that is a historical moment in football. I think years later we will read about this in a huge expose, in a huge book, in a huge report, that there was a ton of illegal stuff going on with this deal. And the fact that you sold your soul, I understand that it's 2022 and we need to change brandings, but we saw what happened in the NBA when the Staples Center got renamed to Crypto Arena, and you lose that integrity or that historical, thing of a team. You're renaming the Camp Nou, arguably one of the most, if not the most historical stadium in football, and you're calling it Spotify Camp Nou. I lose all respect for you right there. Rant over.
Yeah, we said that we weren't going to get into this, but I don't know what they're doing. They have, I think until 12 o'clock Pacific time, which has been
is that tonight?
Or yeah, 12 o'clock tonight, I think, is when they have to figure it out, because it has to be done, I think, 24 hours before kickoff.
We're all going to wake
kickoff,
up. So. Yeah, we're all going to wake up to a bunch of news over here in North America, I guess, because
it's
insane.
Well, no, it can't be that, because I thought it was 24 hours before kickoff, and they kick off at 12 on Saturday, so it can't be that. So I think it's noon tomorrow for me. So noon, August the 12th
Yeah,
is
yeah.
when I think Pacific time is
Pacific
when I
time.
think they have to finish the registration. I could be mistaken on that. I'll have to do more
Cool.
research on that, but I think it's 24 hours before kickoff. They have to finish their registration
Cool.
because they have to. It's not the deadline for registration, as what my FM fans will know. They have a deadline for the league and registration after the transfer window is finished. But in order to actually have players on the squad to play the league, they have to have a submitted roster
With La Liga
registered. Yeah,
and
and again, I
approved.
believe it's 24 hours before the game. So
Cool. Okay, so quite a few games we've talked about there. A couple of other ones. Arsenal versus Leicester will be interesting. Let's see what Arsenal do in their second match of the season. United, how are they going to respond versus Brentford? Brentford did well to get that draw against Leicester. Like Dazer said earlier in here, a lot of teams may look at United for the first few weeks as a vulnerable team who they can kind of scrounge a few points off of. Let's see how United responds there. And then another game we had highlighted was Leeds versus Southampton. That'll be a scrap of a game, I think.
yeah.
Anything you want to touch about in regards to those games, Michael?
I think the Wolves Fulham game is also going to be a good scrappy game. So if you want to watch some Hard Knocks soccer, I think that's going to be, it should be Hard Knocks football. Um, don't I think that's going to be a good game. The Leeds Southampton is another game I think is going to be really gritty. But if you want to just watch an absolute manslaughter, you could tune into the Man City Bournemouth game. I think that one's going to be a runaway. Um, I
Is
would
that it?
probably,
Is that City's home opener?
that's
Should be.
City's home
Yeah,
opener
yeah, yeah.
against Bournemouth. I think the over under on that is
Yeah, I
think
was gonna
three
say
and a half goals.
Haaland over under for 6 goals or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the over under is 3.5 goals. So I would definitely go on the over for that one in my opinion. So not that I'm telling anybody to bet on football or that you should bet, because don't bet your money, keep your money, kids. But I would, if I was a betting man, take the over. But the Saturday games as a whole, the Villa Everton game is a game that I don't want to sleep on, but I probably literally will be sleeping because it's 4:30 in the morning. But that's gonna be I think it'll be a good game, so I'll probably have to TiVo that one. Shout out TiVo. Arsenal Leicester though, like you said, I think that one's gonna be.
Yeah.
I think that's Leicester's chance to show that their first game was a fluke.
Yeah.
It's also Arsenal's chance to show that they're not a fluke. So interesting,
Well said.
interesting Saturday matches there.
I like that. Cool. And the return of more leagues, man. Let's fill up our calendars and take in as much football as we can. As always, guys.
You literally from 4:30 in the morning until what's the latest game for me? I have a 11:45 p.m. game for me.
Jeez.
So God bless all day football.
Shameless plug. Mykal87's Discord, as well as my Discord. For those of you on Spotify, on YouTube, the link is in the bio. For those of you on Twitch, you know already where to find those. I'll put my link in my channel. Michael can put his in his. We both have a section for you guys to join football discussions as well as live match chats. So feel free to join either of our Discords and watch along with fellow fans on this weekend.
Spoiler alert, because there will be spoilers in there. So if you're
Yeah.
watching
True.
one match and don't want to see another one,
True. Cool. So that's
someone actually got mad at me in my chat about that the other day. And I was like,
Oh, no.
I mean,
I texted
but,
Michael.
yeah.
I was like, "Don't join my live chat unless." And then he just sent me a screenshot of him watching the Bayern game at work on his. Well, actually, no,
I was not at
He
work.
was not.
I was not at
He was
work.
not at work. He was at work on the podcast. We were working on the podcast, and he had a third. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, moving on. Champions League qualification.
Thanks. I'm now employed by Hamza.
It wasn't me, right? Like Shaggy said. Champions League qualification, by the way, shout out. Some juicy games coming up. August 16th, we have PSV Eindhoven, who have looked phenomenal this season. By the way, I put them in my notable moments of the week. I'll tell you why. PSV versus Rangers is going to be huge, and then Dynamo Kiev versus Benfica. And on Wednesday, we have, sorry for my Danish saved legends in here, but we have FC Copenhagen, who is the resident Danish evil team, versus Trabzonspor, the champions of Turkey. Also, Garan in your Discord, Michael, really dropped a couple of gems in there for us.
Yeah.
I believe. And you can't see. I can't really click into it because it messes up my whole screen here.
Yeah.
But are you able to just talk about those 2 points he made in your Discord there?
Yeah, let me go to it.
It was in the general. I think it was actually. I can check. Here, just give me 1 second because Garan had some really good points in there. He said.
I will say while you're looking that up, I will say for me as well, one of the games I'm excited to watch this weekend is also the Middlesbrough Sheffield United game, and also the Blackburn Rovers and West Brom game. I think those 2 games in the championship are going to be actually really good games to tune into. So the French league is a snoozer this week, and I think the Serie A is going to be a snoozer this week. I think it's a lot of tune-up games for a lot of big teams, but um, the championship on Sunday is going to look really, really exciting.
100%, 100%. I can't find these comments from Garn, but they were really good comments. I don't know where they were. Garn, if you're still in Michael's chat, one of them was. Do you remember what I'm talking about, Michael? I swear he put two really good points in there that I liked that I thought we should talk about. It was about how the Turkish. Man, I can't find this, and this is gonna drive me crazy. Sorry, guys. We'll try to find this for you guys and talk about it. But Gurn had a couple of really good points that I wanted to talk about, which I will try to look for. Anyways, moving on. We did touch on this a little bit, but another match that already happened was the Super Cup. Real Madrid adds another trophy to their cabinet, which also leads into what Garn was saying because he put a statistic up there about European trophies. Did you find it, Michael?
No, but he's in my chat. He said,
Yes.
let's see, what did he say? Nope, that was completely irrelevant.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. No, that's the one. That's the one. He wrote, Konyaspor, who finished third in the Super League last season in Turkey, have been dumped out of the Conference League after a humiliating 4-2 home defeat. So it was 5-3 in aggregate to Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein's Vaduz, who are currently winless and third bottom of the Swiss second division. So that was taking what I just said. A team in the Swiss second division who are third bottom just knocked out Konyaspor, who finished third in the Turkish league last year. That was crazy to read. And also Garn said, fun fact, 34 of the last 67 European titles have been won by Spanish clubs, which leads into the Super Cup thing that we were talking about. Really good stats there from Garn.
Which,
thoughts?
how many of them is...
Real Madrid? Yeah, I don't even know.
Yeah.
It's insane. But yeah, Super Cup. Shout out to Garn, by the way. Those were really good stats to throw out. Super Cup, we kind of touched on this. Real Madrid adds another one, man. Shout out to Thibaut Courtois. I think, like you said, he's the reason they win that trophy. Frankfurt should have probably scored. That Kamada chance was absolutely golden. The ball to get him in behind was amazing. And the fact is stupidly misleading in itself, though. Fair enough, Cynic. Fair enough. It is, of course, but it's just interesting to read it. What is life without sensational facts that are made out to be much more sensational than they actually are? Since 1/3 of those games require winning titles, make it self-fulfilling. Exactly. I agree, but it's just cool to say it still. But fair points. But yeah.
Yeah.
The 17 in a row versus non-Spanish teams. Now that's a fact, says Cynic. There we go. Cool. Thank you for that, ignoble Cynic. Is there anything you wanted to add to the Spanish Super Cup discussion? Or the Spanish Super Cup, sorry. Spain has taken over my brain. Anything you want to add about the Super Cup, Michael?
I think we covered the Super Cup pretty well.
Okay.
Who did I forget who Real Madrid played this weekend. That's what I'm trying to find. It's escaping me for some reason.
In La Liga, Real Madrid plays against Almeria. I believe Real Madrid is away.
What day is that? Is that Friday?
It's on Sunday the 14th at 1 p.m. your time, Pacific time, I believe.
Yep.
Sunday.
So both Barcelona and Real Madrid are playing softies this week. So interesting. The Mainz-Berlin game will be a good Bundesliga game if you want to wake up early and watch that one. I think that one will be really good. But I think this weekend's probably...
I like how you just say Berlin now, by the way.
Yeah.
And we just know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you win the Berlin Derby. You
are Berlin. Yeah.
So, I think Chelsea Spurs is the weekend or the game of the weekend for me. So one thing I did want to mention, actually, we covered a lot of games about the Premier League and things like that. What are your thoughts on giving promoted teams opening day home games? So you just got promoted, your first game of the season, you get to play at home. What are your thoughts on that? Because in my opinion, I think they should. I feel like you just started promotion. I feel like the top 3 teams and the bottom 3 teams, so the new bottom 3, I guess, the teams that got promoted in, I feel like those teams should get a home performance. If you finish middle of the table, you can open your home game second game of the season. But I feel like that's a huge achievement to get promoted to the Premier League or the first tier Germany or the first tier Spain or whatever. Let them open their season at home. Let the fans celebrate that moment.
That's a good topic. And guys, if you want to chime in either of our chats, let me know. I'm going to take the stance of I don't agree, just to have an opposing stance, because I have more to say on that than yes. I'm sure I'll probably come around and say yes if it's a compelling argument. For me, the reason no is firstly, it's a reward enough that you're in the top tier for me, and the money that, so, like, yes, okay, I agree, but I think it's also fun to be like, hey, welcome to the league. Like you're playing at Anfield in your first match. You're playing at the
Oh,
the empty hat. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. But
oh,
I think it's kind of like you're playing at the Bernabeu in your first match. So I think it adds that element. Like, holy, we've made it to the top league, and then you walk out in like a 90,000 seat stadium and you're like, we cannot compete here, so I think it adds that element to it. But it's an interesting idea. Uncle Gus here says, I think being away has its advantages. Imagine losing at home to a newly promoted team. Interesting. Actually, that could play into Michael's thing, which is like higher
sure.
stakes to not let your fans down after that whole thing, right? But he says at the end of the day, you still get the same amount of home and away games and lots of pressure on the home team to
Yeah.
win if it's
Well,
newly
yeah.
promoted. I think Michael's just saying like the anticipation of we have finally arrived. Should we get to show it off in front of our home fans? But yeah, it's an interesting
Yeah.
take that it adds more pressure in a way.
What if it's the opposite? The top three teams get to play at home versus the bottom three teams.
Oh my days.
So Man City gets open against Fulham.
Against well, based on what Fulham didn't. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I don't know, man. I
Right.
think, as far as I'm aware, it's completely random, right? Like the way they
I
come up
think
with
so. I
these.
think it's just I think it's just RNG. I think it's
Yeah.
just
So I'm
a
okay with
lottery
that
system.
because that's the fun. Like it's like, oh, what are we gonna get? What are we gonna get? It's like, okay, if you kind of knew that, like you might see a little more. I can't think of a way people would manipulate it yet, but I just think it leaves it open to like there could be some question marks in terms of results just to get ideal advantage, but it doesn't really. I don't know. For me, I'm gonna go with no because I think like a rough welcome in. Like imagine you get promoted to the Turkish First League and you have to go to like Galatasaray with their welcome to hell stuff going on from the fans. I think that would be sick.
Mm, yeah,
Also, Gus
maybe.
says the first chance for a team's fans to travel away to a big team is exciting too. Imagine you get to go to Old Trafford or something, you know?
Yeah, because I mean, in England, it's you get a lot more traveling fans than we do in the States
In the
because
States, yeah.
just because traveling here is, I don't want to spend $500 to go watch my team play in Miami. You know what I mean? So, whereas you guys can take a bus and be there for, you know, you know, 10 piece. So
Yeah.
it, it's one thing I admire about UK is traveling support. It's
Ease of
definitely there.
access, yeah, yeah.
Well, not only the easy access, but I mean, I guess it's because of the easy access, but the traveling support
The support,
in
yeah, yeah.
Europe and as a whole is
Yeah.
phenomenal. So.
Cool. Interesting topic, guys. If you want to chime in, go ahead. Transfers. We are approaching like 1 hour 40 on the clock here, so let's start wrapping it up
Holy
with our
smokes.
I know you hate when I do the call outs with time, but the only reason I do it is just because I want to get everything done so we don't miss anything for next week. Take your pick. We have a huge list of transfers here. Is there anything you want to bring to the forefront, brother?
I don't actually know if we put this one on the list. I don't know if it was finalized yet or
Okay.
not, but Kalimuendo from PSG's academy
Mm,
going to Rennes
okay.
is officially the largest fee for an academy player in France.
Wow, I did not know about
So
this.
Renee's putting a big,
By the way, shout out to the Uber Eats League, which we haven't talked about once this entire stream.
yeah, shout out to the farmers. Um, I think that's a huge fee to put on center forward's head. So um,
So for
be
those of
interesting to
you
see if
that
he
don't
as
know
well.
what is being talked about, Arnaud Kalimuendo from PSG he's
Yeah,
a Congolese and French dual national, 20 years old striker. Like Michael said, he's going to Stade Rennais in Liga as well for 20 million euros at the age of 20 years old. I will
yeah,
put my hands up and say a name that I have not heard of. So that's a pretty big,
yeah.
significant chunk. Good one, Michael.
Yeah, same. I mean, if you've said you've heard of that kid before, then
You
shout
either
out to
play a
you.
lot of Football Manager or you're just very much
Yeah,
a Uber Eats
yeah.
enjoyer.
Oh, I guarantee you, next FM, every person's gonna be like, Colorado News,
Um, yeah, yeah, yeah.
especially after our next transfer, the FM legend Sesko being finalized with Leipzig. So he's going to stay at
Salzburg.
Salzburg. Thank you. You could feel the struggle coming. I
It's all
appreciate you.
good.
He's staying at Salzburg until the end of the 2022 season. He'll be transferred as soon as the 2022 season's over to go to Leipzig at 2023, which with Leipzig also securing Timo the Burner Werner. Um, I think that team next year will be really scary. I think Timo Werner going back to Leipzig, he's going to get a hero's welcome, and I think
Turbo
he's
Timmy.
got a lot. I think he's got a lot to prove to get himself back into the German national team.
I agree.
But um, God, Leipzig's going to be scary next year with Timo
Yeah, yeah.
Werner if they manage to hold off and keep Nkunku,
Yeah.
Timo Werner and Sesko.
Yeah.
Woo.
I just want to say before I get into that, we found Quinby, our Australian legend here, when we were talking about the transfer of that guy, Kalimwendo, that we said no one knows about. Quinby's like, was he at on loan at Lens in France? And I said, yep. And he said, yep. Then I've heard of him. So shout out to Quinby. He knows
Oh,
Arnaud Kalimwendo.
FM bringing the world together.
Well, Quinby is also a real life soccer analyst slash coach, so he probably. Anyways, the Leipzig thing, you know my take on this. I said if they do end up bringing Werner in, and now that it looks like they've won the Cesco sweepstakes, I think they try to keep the core together as long as they humanly can. And Nkunku and Guardiola are names that have been thrown around with clubs for eternity. Like I said, I don't think they'd be willing to sell if they do indeed bring in people like Werner. They want to try to keep the core intact and see if they can push and try to succeed. So yeah, if they can keep those guys, I think next year would be scary. One transfer before we get into our list that I didn't put on the list because it just happened today. Shout out to one of my favorite strikers on Football Manager for my offline save. Andrea Pinamonti, the 23-year-old Italian, leaves Inter Milan and is joining Sassuolo on loan, replacing Scamacca as their striker. And I am going to be watching a lot of Sassuolo this season because Pinamonti is someone I have a soft spot for from the game, and I'm curious to see how he does over there. Okay, let's get into this. We have a lot of transfers here. Quick fire. Cucurella, official. Levi Colwill goes the other way from Chelsea to Brighton. Very highly touted center back prospect. The fact that Chelsea was able to loan Colwill to Brighton instead of selling him is great for me. The De Jong mess. Do you want to add anything to that, or can we move on from the De Jong mess?
I wanted to touch on Cucurella. I think
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I think he's going to play more of a wing back kind of role
100%.
than he will center back. He's
100%.
kind of a smaller center back, but I mean, I could see him fitting in that role, but I think you're going to see him more of a wing back. But overall, I think it's a great signing.
100%.
And then who was the other one you said? Sorry,
I said just looking at our list here, so we go together. The De Jong mess. Do we care about that?
I think De Jong stays. I don't think he transfers. I think he's definitely shown that he wants to stay. I think it's just going to be a matter of does he stay at full price. I'm team De Jong. I hope he stays at full price, and I hope he just fucks. Excuse me. I hope he screws. You have to bleep that on the.
I don't know how to bleep. I'll just.
You're good. You're good.
I'll just.
I hope he. Yeah. I hope he screws Barcelona over, and not again. I think De Jong's probably one of the best midfielders in the world, honestly, and he deserves every penny that he's owed. And he, like you said, he deserves better. And I think he's bigger than Barcelona at this moment. I would say, but he's obviously worth more money than Barcelona at this moment. But I'm team De Jong, so I hope he stays. I hope he holds them to their end of the deal, and I hope they have to lose players. And it's not just because I want Lewandowski to not be able to get registered and end up back at Dortmund, but because I hope that Barcelona has to reap what they sow. So
interesting.
But anyways, I don't think he leaves. I think he stays.
He stays. Okay, cool. Shout out to the next transfer here, a team that's actually being very progressive in the transfer window. Firstly, signing Bernd Leno. We're talking about Fulham, of course. Bernd Leno joining Fulham, and then Issa Diop leaving West Ham to join Fulham. Only 25 years old. Seems like he checked out of his career at West Ham. I've seen some reactions from West Ham fans that were quite pissed off at Diop. Thoughts on this? Obviously a good pickup for Fulham, but what's going on with Issa Diop?
You could see he was missed in the West
and he
Ham
has a
game
good
this
connection
weekend.
with the animal abuser too. So I think it's interesting that he would go to Fulham.
Yeah, you could tell that he was missed in that back line this week, and he was a powerhouse for them last season. He had a number of team of the week selections in the Premier League. I think he scored almost 6 goals for them. Was it 6 goals?
Something like that.
He was a threat on set pieces for them. So I think Fulham are getting way better. I think West Ham are taking a step backwards. So good move for Fulham.
Cool. A man who scored 33 goals and 64 assists for Eintracht Frankfurt officially leaves. Was it 10 years that he was there?
Oh, forever, yeah.
It felt like Filip Kostic leaves, and I think he's going to be missed. Like, I think, obviously, well, he's shout out to Juventus, who looks like actually they've been making quite a few moves. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Kostic leaving Frankfurt?
Yeah, and by the way, I think I said Jovetic earlier, and that's my fault. So
you meant Kostic, yeah.
I was meaning Kostic. But Jovetic did leave earlier this season, but I was meaning Kostic from Frankfurt, and he was a lifeblood at Frankfurt. So that's a scary move if you're a Frankfurt fan, because he was club captain next to Rode, so or Roda, but
Sebastian Rode, yeah.
he he was a lifeblood for them. He could play striker, he could play forward, he could play wing back. So
Mhm.
he was kind of an all over the field player. So um, good move for him. I think he definitely gets a good move
Mhm.
to Juve. I don't know how much he's going to be used at Juventus, um, but getting to see him and Vidovic up top is going to be, and Chiesa on the other side, by the way, is
Yeah.
going to be a scary front
And
three for Juve.
still only 29 years old, the Serbian. Also, as Quinby07 says in chat here, Kostic turned on West Ham. Very effective in the Bundesliga.
As he should.
Assist king from the left-hand side. An exciting player to watch, man. Filip Kostic joins
He was
Juventus.
he was very crucial in their Europa run, by the way.
Very much so. He was their
didn't
heartbeat.
score a ton of goals, but I think he led the Europa League in assists, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
He was that's a player that a lot of people are going to sleep on because of the team that he played for and the league that he played for. But that's a scary player.
100%. Moving on to the Serie A, Gini Wijnaldum joins Roma. They keep adding to their team. Zaniolo looks like he's still there for now.
Yeah.
Like Spencer usually says in our chat here. Roma, man, I'm telling you, I'm going to be watching a lot of Roma. Thoughts on Wijnaldum going to Roma?
Also, Kluivert's rumored
Justin
to be leaving to Fulham, as Spencer pointed out. So Roma are completely doing like a little bit of an overhaul on that team, as you'd expect from a Jose Mourinho team. I don't think this Wijnaldum one really makes a ton of sense. He's a good box-to-box midfielder, but he's not that great defensively for me. And to see them lose Danilo the other way, potentially, I know they're selling him to make room for it, if I remember right. I think it was Danilo.
I thought it was Ghana Gay. Idris. Oh, no, never mind. Never mind. Ignore me.
That's
Yeah.
PSG. That's who PSG are losing.
Wrong team.
And he's linked to, I forget where he's linked to.
Everton.
Everton, yeah. Yeah, I think it's Danilo's leaving Roma out of the midfield, and Ronaldo's going to step into his place.
I just want to add to this Wijnaldum transfer, then you can comment if you want. Quinby says he has Wijnaldum, that is, has 2 permanent clauses. So he's not a permanent move yet. The 2 clauses are apparently, firstly, if Roma qualifies for the Champions League, the move becomes permanent. Secondly, if he plays half of Roma games. So seems like a low risk, high reward potentially move for Roma.
Yeah. Well, he has health issues, right? He's had health issues for a while, which is one of the reasons he didn't really
31
fit in
now,
at PSG.
yeah.
So, again, if I was Mourinho, I would sit him that last game he needs to make it for half and just let the loan move expire. So, it's a smart deal on PSG side, because if Roma secures Champions League like they're going to push for, then you secure that transfer. So, I just don't know if it makes a ton of sense. But I mean, I also trust Jose Mourinho. He knows the players that he wants and why he wants them. So,
agreed. I think Mourinho is someone who knows exactly what he would want, and let's see how it works out. Shout out to Champions League clauses, by the way, because they do come in handy, such as Eden Hazard's 15 million clause because Real Madrid won the Champions League. Chelsea received 15 million still from that transfer. Champions League clauses are real MVPs, I'm telling you. Speaking of Chelsea center back legend Malang Sarr is leaving Chelsea.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I have something for this one.
Who the fuck is that guy?
I have a soft spot for this guy, man. Malang Sarr. It's hilarious because
Who the fuck is that guy?
I'll do it all day.
San United says hello again. The voice of reason is back. Welcome back,
Yeah.
brother. Listen, Malang Sarr. We picked him up from Nice, the same window that we signed Werner and Havertz and all those guys, so he got swept under the rug. Obviously not the best, most polished defender, but we signed him for free. He joins Monaco on loan with apparently an obligation to buy if certain things are met. I think it's appearances for 10 or 15 million. I think that's a decent piece of business, tidy piece of business. He's not Chelsea level. It's really cute because I just want to say this, that Raheem Sterling, when he joined, if you guys watch the behind the scenes of Sterling joining, there's a video clip of him putting his arm around Malang Sarr because it was a meme in the Chelsea community. We didn't know if Malang was more a left back or a center back, and apparently Sterling didn't even know it either. He puts his arm around Malang and he's like, how's everything? Good. So are you a left back or a center back? And Malang was kind of offended by that question. He's like, I'm a center back, bro. But yeah, Malang Sarr, aka Malanguinho, the Brazilian center back type of player. I don't know, man. I have a soft spot for the guy, but he leaves.
How many games did he actually play for Chelsea?
A lot. Tuchel has a
really?
soft spot for him. Tuchel had a soft spot for him. So let's look at Malungstar's stats for last year.
I always thought he was hot garbage. Not gonna lie, I thought he was a player that had a ton of potential coming in from Nice,
Yeah.
and I just think that he, like you said, he wasn't Premier League quality.
He's
I
not.
think
He
that,
officially played 8 games in the Premier League for Chelsea. 8
and where did he go?
appearances. He's
Where
going
was
to
the transfer
Monaco. Monaco.
So he's going back to the Farmers League. So
Okay.
good for him. I mean,
Very young still, man. Very young. So we'll see. But all the best to
but
Malung.
I think, I mean, like you said, it's as a Chelsea fan, it's good business because he just wasn't up to par.
Mhm.
You need to make the room and
Mhm.
make some money off of him. So,
Mhm.
and for Nice, then hey, good for them, good business for them. But I don't. What's it called? I don't have much to say on it because, like I said, I don't think
Fair
he's a
enough.
blip in Chelsea's performances. So.
By the way, shout out to Chelsea. I don't want to derail, but we've been doing a lot of great business. And actually, Dark Raiden hates when I say we. Chelsea has been doing great business in the transfer window, signing quite a few young players here. So obviously, Carney Chukwuemeka comes in, Gabriel Slonina, aka Gaga Slonina, comes in, and then there was a couple of scholars that have been signed. A 14-year-old left back from Brighton, I believe, and Mason Burstow was signed last summer from Charlton. It looks like there's really, and of course, Amari Hutchinson from Arsenal. So these are names that you guys should hopefully remember one day because Chelsea has done some tidy business for the youth system. Next one, this is a juicy one. Alexis Sanchez terminates his contract with Inter Milan, got them a few titles, joins Marseille, a team with lots of expectations for their players. Is this a good move or a bad move?
I feel like for Inter, it's a good move. It's a good job to mutually terminate, so that way they don't have to pay for him. He was on an expensive deal, and he wasn't really playing a ton. His performances were never that of what they should have been. I feel like he's a ghost of Arsenal past. But for Marseille, I mean, I don't know the length of his contract or how much they're paying him, but I mean, they obviously saw a need, filled a need. So I feel like Marseille are one of those clubs who are investing into we need to try and win right now. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
San United corrects me, 1 title. I said a few titles. I thought they won a Coppa Italia, but apparently it was just the 1 title, which was the Scudetto. So thank you for correcting me there. But yeah, 173 Serie A appearances for him, leaves with 36 goals, 35 assists in total.
Not very good.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, that dates back to his Udinese days as well. But overall in the Serie A, that's his performance. We'll see how he does in France. Next one we have on the list here is Memphis Depay. So one of Aubameyang or Depay might be leaving, apparently. Obviously, Aubameyang linked with Chelsea, potentially. Depay, even though Barcelona just released a new campaign with his new number like on Instagram. So we'll see what happens. But Depay might be joining Juventus. If that happens, good move or bad move for Juventus?
I'm torn because
Yeah.
I don't know what spot he's going to play.
Yep.
Like, I mean, they have Vidovic up top.
Yeah.
I don't. Then they signed Jovetic as well, right? From Real Madrid.
Yeah,
I remember?
from Real
Or was-
Madrid. Yeah.
I don't know what role he's going to play there. They don't use a natural cam, so that doesn't really make a ton of sense. He doesn't really play out wide, so I don't. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I don't think
Yeah.
they need a third striker
Yeah.
or somebody that expensive. But I mean, good for him if he gets to go to another top flight team and gets to fleece another team for cash. Because
Yeah.
to me, he's always been. I mean, he was great at Liga and Serie A. He flopped at United. I think he flopped at Barcelona. Um, I don't know. I feel like he's a Farmers League player. So.
Quinby says, by
see.
the way, Jovic joined Fiorentina. Thank you. We have. It's been
Fiorentina, sorry.
all these transfers have been insane for us to keep track of. Juve lost Morata and Dybala, so he might slot in there. Like he says, Vlahovic is obviously the main choice, but depending on the contract, Depay might be.
I was saying Vidovic. Sorry,
Yeah,
he's from
it's
like
fine, it's fine,
fucking
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good. Anyways,
I'm not feeling well.
I know, guys. Disclaimer, and I've said this before. Much love to Michael. We're approaching the end of the stream here, but he has powered through this like an absolute champion. For those of you watching this on YouTube or Twitch, you'll notice sometimes he goes off screen just to keep sneezing. Those of you on Spotify, because Michael is such a consummate professional, he has muted himself every time, so your eardrums don't get blasted with his sneezes or coughs. Zan United, our resident Dutch friend, says good move. Depay will play games, which is important for his development for the national team, obviously, or not development, but his ability to play in the national team, and he would play on the left potentially for Juventus. Interesting. One that
I don't think he'll play on the left. If anything, if he's going to play a winger, he'd play on the right because he's a cut inside and shoot player, not a.
isn't he right-footed?
Cross
I don't
player.
even know.
No, he's left-footed.
He's left-footed. Okay. my namesake Hamza Chowdhury leaves Leicester on loan to Watford. An interesting one, obviously not a world beater, but Leicester we know have stagnated in the transfer market. Doesn't really, I think, tip the scale either way, but just interesting to see someone who has made appearances for the first team join Watford. Anything you want to say on that?
I feel like he'll leave the team eventually. I feel like he's one of those players who's going to go on tours of Europe because he never really fits into the first team, and then eventually he's going to get bought out by somebody, and then he's going to explode on the scene. So
Interesting.
I know he's like a FIFA legend because of his haircut,
Yeah.
or lack thereof a haircut, I guess.
Lack thereof, yeah.
But yeah, I don't think he's ever really going to make first team with Leicester.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like some team eventually is going to buy him, and he'll have a standout season.
Cool. We're approaching the end of the list here. Werner and Sesko to Leipzig. We talked about Amadou Onana from Lille to Everton is a good one, and then Connor Cody joins Everton. Understood. Yerry Mina and Holgate have their injuries, but it looks like Everton should be focused more on the striking department. Yes, they do need bodies, but Connor Cody, I'm not sure. What are your thoughts on? I mean, great. I like Connor Cody, but what's
Well, considering they just lost
the two, Mina possibly and Godfrey?
yeah, Godfrey's out for the year, potentially his career. So Connor Cody, I think, is a timely signing for them. But Connor Cody's a great player. I think he had a phenomenal season with Wolves.
He's a leader.
Yeah, I think that he's somebody that Lampard probably had his eye on for a while. So I think he has a good opportunity to step into Everton and wear that shirt proudly and really show off. So I think it's a huge loss for Wolves, though.
Yeah.
I don't know who they're going to find to fill his spot.
Yeah.
I know that they signed Gonzalo Guedes. You know, the
From Valencia.
Wolves being mini Portugal meme continues, but
It's the ownership, right?
which I don't know where he fits in. He's not a natural striker. He's a natural left winger. They have Daniel Podence, who's a natural left winger.
They'll probably
so
move one of Podence or Neto to central more, maybe.
I don't know.
'Cause
I don't know
him-
what Wolves are doing
yeah.
other than buying Portugal players. So
Actually, Cynic chimes in here, says Wolves aren't intending on playing a back five anymore. They're moving more to a 4-2-3-1. I think he would play the wing rotation and Guedes would be at AM most. So Podence would be the wing rotation and Guedes would be the attacking mid mostly. Interesting take. I like that.
but that's not his position. He's
yeah, but it would
never
be
played
because
centrally.
he's been a wide player. Interesting. And
He's
then
never
Cody
played
doesn't.
centrally.
Interesting. And then Cynic goes on to say Cody doesn't fit in the back four either. So that's probably why it was a timely move to get rid of him if
Does
they're
he
switching.
not though? He was the best center back at Wolves. So that take I don't necessarily agree with. Like I understand that they're trying to switch systems and so maybe offloading some extra players they have in positions makes sense, but Connor Cody was one of the highest rated center backs in the league last year. Definitely the best center back for Wolves. So that doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. And Guedes, one of the reasons he got forced out of Valencia is because they have Brian Gill coming up for Valencia, and they both play that wide spot. And when Guedes tried to play striker and also centrally, he didn't do very well.
Interesting.
So if they recruited him to play centrally, then their recruitment was very poor.
We'll see how it plays out.
Podence maybe. I think Podence reminds me a lot of Diego Jota. So I think those players could maybe make sense, but we'll see.
Just to end on the Wolves topic here, Cynic says Wolves played the back, just in response to Connor Cody fitting in. The Wolves played the back five with Connor Cody in the middle, so almost sounds like he might have been a little, like, not protected, I don't want to say, because he is a good player, but Kilman was the best center back for Wolves. Cody gets covered by the other two to allow him to play to his strengths. Might not be as good in a back four. Interesting. We'll see. We'll see how it works out either way. But good takes and good input from everyone. Thank you for that. Two surprising.
I'll just leave it on, I disagree.
But... Fair enough. That's why it's all opinions, right? Galatasaray picks up two names that we were both surprised by. Go ahead, Michael. Tell him who's.
So the first one was Lucas Touré, which everyone knows about, which was pretty. One for me, as we talked about earlier, Arsenal's midfield is already kind of suspect, and then you lose Lucas Touré, who is a phenomenal midfielder. I don't understand why they just let him go for free.
He's very tenacious.
Free,
yeah. He's very tenacious. Like you'd want him in your midfield, and he's 26.
He ran all over the park. So I don't understand that. It's a great signing for Galatasaray, though. Like he's going to win them games for sure. The other one though snuck in under the radar that not a lot of people knew about, which was Dries Mertens from Napoli, leaves on a free to go to Galatasaray. That one is shocking because I would have picked Dries Mertens to finish his career in a blue shirt in Napoli. I thought he was Naples through and through after how long he's been there. But two, I'm kind of torn on whether or not it's a good signing for Galatasaray. I'll admit that I don't watch a ton of Turkish league football. I watched the end of last season just because the runs that some of those teams had, that was a really exciting end of the season. But I don't watch enough of Galatasaray to know if that signing makes a ton of sense or not. So, because he's 35, was that what it was? Was it 35,
I
34?
think he's up there. Yeah, I'm gonna check right now. The thing that surprises me the most, and I mean, obviously we'll see to be determined. I think, excuse me, yeah, 25 years old, 35. Sorry, I think Galatasaray is recruiting really aggressively here. But the biggest thing for me is, we touched on this in the predictions podcast, and I said I'm concerned for Napoli as much as I have a soft spot for them and always have with the Cavani Lavezzi days. I said Koulibaly leaving and Insigne, while they may not, like some people were counter saying that Insigne wasn't the most important for goal contribution in the last year, all of that stuff. It's more the leadership for me. When you think of Napoli, who do you think about? For me, back in the day was Cavani and Lavezzi. After that, it's been Insigne, Koulibaly, and Dries Mertens. Not in that order, just those are the three names. So their identity is completely changing, I would say, and it's going to be interesting to see how they fill those holes. It is always, obviously, there's never the right time to move on from players that are legends for your club, but very big summer for Napoli in terms of outgoings.
Yeah, and I think we both picked them to be outside of the European football,
Which is insane, given that they were leading the league for like 26 match weeks last year until Osimhen went down injured. So,
I mean, they still have Osimhen, they still have Lozano, they still have some young talent, but it's getting the young talent to play together. So
exactly,
it'll be interesting. I think this might be them, having that one season where they move on towards the next goal, but we'll see.
Yeah. And guys, as we approach the final transfer for us and then a couple of notable moments, I want to open it up to Michael's chat and my chat. If you guys have an open panel, if there's anything you want us to touch on before we head off, just throw that in either chat, Michael's or mine, and we will discuss that in the open panel. But the final transfer that we had listed on here that's been, I believe, confirmed this week since our last our podcast was Marco Sensi and Isco. Sorry, Marco Sensi joining Bournemouth and Isco joining Sevilla. Two interesting transfers. Isco was one that Michael said, I mean, the wages was probably the issue, but a player who still has a lot to offer and wasn't picked up for a while. So interesting to see him go to Sevilla, and Michael touched on that earlier. But Marco Sensi to Bournemouth, you said he's that's one to watch.
Yeah, Sensi to Bournemouth is going to be a huge piece for Bournemouth. I think that helps them solidify a huge question for them. And he's still young. I think he's 24, 25.
Yeah.
And he adds a good piece to them. So I'll be interested to see if if he meshes well. You don't see a ton of Italians come to
Sensi is 25, by the way. Yeah,
25.
Yep.
I was close.
Yeah, very close.
You don't see a ton of Italians really come to the Premier League and really pop off. And before everybody just starts yelling legends' names at me, but it's not a common thing. So it'll be interesting to see if he makes it work, especially going into a team like Bournemouth. I think he's technically bigger than a club like Bournemouth, if I'm being honest, but I think it's a good signing for Bournemouth.
Could be a stepping stone type of thing. No disrespect to Bournemouth at all. Quinby here says that oh, we got it mixed up. Oh, Bournemouth has signed a Senesi from Feyenoord. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we're talking about. Marco Senesi, the Argentinian, right? I could show you my screen here, but it's this guy, 25-year-old Argentinian.
Doesn't he has Italian second nationality? Am I
He's
wrong?
Argentinian and Italian, maybe. I'm not sure, but anyways, he is Argentinian. I don't know if he has Italian. Maybe. Anyhow, thanks for pointing that out. Also, I want to say Isco has returned to Andalusia, the province, which is the same as where he was. Obviously, he broke onto the scene. Malaga was the team that I actually, like, when I learned about Isco was on Malaga. So a great point from Quinby that Isco has returned to Andalusia because Sevilla and Malaga are in the same province. Cool.
Mykal Damsgaard, by the way, going from Sampdoria to Brentford.
That was a good one.
I think that's an interesting signing for them.
Yep. That will be an interesting one. And I don't think there was another confirmed one that we had on the list here. But guys, if there's any open panel stuff you want us to talk about, go ahead, because we're heading into the last segment here, which is notable moments of the week. Michael, if you want to think about any but the ones for me, like I said, if you guys haven't seen this goal already, Ismail Assar wonder goal for Watford in the championship. Phenomenal goal. Check it out. One of the great moments of the week. Luke De Jong returns to PSV, captains them against Monaco in the Champions League qualifiers. Phenomenal two-legged tie, by the way. I watched as much as I could of both legs. Monaco was threatening in extra time, and then Luke De Jong just popped up in Luke De Jong fashion with a back post header. Absolutely phenomenal from Luke De Jong. What a moment. The fans were immense. PSV is into the next round. Like I said, they play Rangers on the 16th. I'm very excited by PSV Eindhoven. I know I have a couple of friends that support Ajax in real life, but I'm so excited by PSV. I think Xavi Simons is going to be great. Cody Gakpo, like Zion United said, is a phenomenal player. Luke De Jong returning home. It's going to be great. I think PSV is a team to watch, and those were kind of my 2 moments of the week for me personally. I don't know if there's anything that stuck out to you. I'm sure as a Bayern fan, you were delighted by the way Mane has looked to gel in perfectly with the team.
Yeah, the Mane fitting into the team was the primary thing for me this weekend that I wanted to see. I wanted to see how he did in his first regular season game, especially on the road. So I think that was a big one. I think that sorry, I'm still trying to look for the Sensi deal. I don't know why it's escaping me, but the Mane thing was a huge one. And like I said, there was a ton of just banger goals this weekend. James Ward-Prowse with the volley downwards.
Fabian Schär for Newcastle.
Schär's goal is a really good deal. Spencer in my chat, by the way, mentioned that Gonçalo Ramos is another Portuguese player who's linked with Wolves. And he's a natural through and through striker, so that one could be an interesting one. But yeah, I think there's a ton of banging goals this weekend, and if we can keep getting those, then I'm excited for
Lionel Messi's bicycle. As much as it's a Farmers League phenomenal finish,
I'm mixed on it, and I don't want to be deemed as a Messi hater, so I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. But
what are you like? Is it the quality of the opponent, or I mean, because that was a pure instinct goal, I would say. Like he chested and just boom, without even looking once. Like the awareness for me, it wasn't like.
But there's no pressure on him, right? Because I mean, the ball's over the top. It looked like they tried to play a poor offsides line. So to me, there wasn't any pressure on him. So a player of his quality, I'd expect to be able to make a move like that. And the goalkeeping was really poor.
Interesting.
But again, I don't want to be deemed as a Messi hater because
no, you're entitled to your opinion.
So
yeah, no.
It was a good goal. I wouldn't say it was a great goal. And the goal that was the funny thing to me about this moment was the immediate comparison to CR7's bicycle goal. And to me, there is no comparison because CR7's bicycle goal was the absolute best. I think the only one that I've ever seen that was better than that was Gareth Bale's bicycle. Or Mandzukic's maybe against Real Madrid in that final, which imagine scoring that kind of bicycle kick and then losing the Champions League final. But yeah, I don't know. I think that I think it was a good goal, like I said, but not a goal that I'm gonna like get up in arms about.
Cool, interesting. Was an easy goal to score, more for show. Interesting. I'm not saying it was the greatest goal ever scored, by the way, just to be very clear. I'm saying I enjoyed the goal, and I think it was a good goal. There's clearly been better goals. I mean, it was nowhere near like a top Puskás winning goal at all. I just thought it was a neat goal from the weekend.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's a good goal, and like you said, it's very instinctual.
Yeah,
but
it was the instinct for me because he didn't even like have to look where he was going. He just chested the control. Actually, more than the bicycle kick, which was flat and not flashy, I understand. It was the chested control to set it up for me, which I thought was fairly neat. But I mean, clearly, I'm under no illusions that it was not a top 10 goal.
I think he could have brought it down and scored it without the flare, which is why I'm kind of like, so.
Fair enough.
But yeah.
Fair enough.
I don't want to dwell on it.
No, yeah. Yeah, man, so exciting weekend coming up ahead. Yeah. I think it's going to be phenomenal.
Since he does have Italian nationality.
There we go. Michael's been spending the last 20 minutes.
He has recently declared for Argentina, and he has had one cap for Argentina, but he is technically of Italian descent.
Cool.
So I wanted to make sure I was correct and not talking on my ass there. But
No,
anyways.
I believed you, brother. Anyways, guys, I think that will bring an end towards our podcast here. We've been going about 2 hours, 12 minutes. Thank you so much. I know Stick is sleeping. Stick Piano, thank you so much for the raid earlier. Appreciate it. Guys, if you are listening to this on Spotify or YouTube, we appreciate the support so much. We hope that you can join us live either on Michael's channel or mine on Twitch when we do these live every Thursday. You guys are phenomenal. Thank you for all the support. This video will be... Tankadoo's been in here. I'm not sure how long, but good to see you in here, buddy. I'm not sure if... you guys know this, but the podcast is uploaded to YouTube, and it will be uploaded within, I think, 24-ish hours, and it will be on Spotify within 24 to 48 hours as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, please consider liking and subscribing. Obviously, if you're watching it on Spotify, please consider watching it on Spotify. Consuming it on Spotify, please consider downloading. But shout out to you guys, the chat. Follow. There we go. Michael's the Spotify guy for us. Shout out to chat. Shout out to Michael's chat. Shout out to my chat. You guys are legends as always. You make this so fun, so interactive. Shout out to Mykal87. He's had a sick baby. He is a sick baby in a nice way. I'm not calling him a baby, but you know. Shout out to this guy, man. He powered through this. You wouldn't be able to tell that he wasn't feeling well. Shout out to you, brother. I love you. I cherish doing this with you every week. And I look forward to next week, guys, when we will be back for episode number 5. We're 5 episodes in, man, and it's just so much fun that I get to do it with you. Is there any final thing you want to add, Michael?
No, man. Like you said, I appreciate you doing this with me. It's always good fun.
Absolutely.
The community response to this has been extremely overwhelming. When we first took this on, I was expecting 10 views. That's about it, and nothing else. And we've been averaging close to 20, 30, 40 views within a couple hours. So absolutely love it. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about, though. If you're, like I said, if you're on YouTube, leave us a comment with what you think we got wrong, what you think we should talk about next time. If you're listening on Spotify, come join the Discords. It's actually in the Spotify bio, by the way. So if you go to our channel and you see the episodes, it has the Discords in the bio. So come join us in the Discord. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about. And you can also, criticize our NA football knowledge and beliefs. So
and we will be doing a dedicated NA show down the road. But yes, guys, that is going to be the official sign off. We will keep it on Twitch here just to decide what we're going to do with our raid. But for YouTube, for Spotify, you guys are absolute legends. Thank you for the support. We love you. Mykal87 and OfficialH2. We are signing out until next week. Take care and see you next Thursday.